Brought to you by Make Fun Network.
Welcome to the top 5 of death, where listeners vote and everyone dies. Listen and die.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Top 5 of Death. I am your host. Gonna give a disclaimer right at the top. Right at the top on this one. This one is gonna be a heavily political episode. I will be pulling no punches this week. This is my coup de grace, day before election, when this episode comes out. So if you're into that, join us. If you're not, wait till next week when we do top 5 assholes up close and personal, and we just describe assholes in the most prosy way we can. Also known as regularly scheduled programming Bistany. But this week, our episode falls on a Monday before election, so we're doing government gripes this week. So I'm telling you now. I'm just telling you now. Don't say boo about whatever. It's what we're doing, and I hope you stay. I hope you. Even if you're not into it, it should be interesting. It'll be fun, I think. That or we'll never hear. The show will be over. I will alienate every other host. I will then be pulling from the bottom of the barrel of other hosts. You'll then have Kevin Weaver on the show. You'll have Dave.
Don't threaten him with a good time.
I know. And we'll get Josue and Mr. Sepultura himself.
Sick.
But anyway, it's going to be fun. I'm excited about it. I'm here with all the boyos. Charles, how are you?
Yo, I'm good. I've had a week, so.
You've had a week. Okay. That's, well, all right.
We'll
just leave it at that.
Were we doing full check-ins now, or are we just doing introductions?
We can give quick ones. We got quick ones.
Yeah.
Only because I have like a very small anecdote that's unrelated to our topic that happened last night that I wanted to just talk about.
Oh, yeah. Well, only check-up this week. Possibly 2 leads for work in the freelance community, so hoping for that. And then last night we celebrated my dad's 70th birthday. It was a surprise party that we successfully pulled off.
Oh,
So,
nice.
Yeah.
When you're surprising someone of that age, is there ever a fear you might surprise them to death?
I had a very small percentage of that happening, but I've never seen him like overly react. And it was only like 40 some people. So, and it was in a small restaurant. Like, yeah, it's not like everyone at one point went, surprise, like scaring the shit out of somebody.
Surprise,
full on
motherfucker.
yelling. Yeah. So I was like, no, I think he'll be fine. And he had a great time.
Good.
It was one of those things. It's like, okay, you go here now, enjoy. And we just went and sat at the bar and had drinks. So
I just had a question that popped in my head when you're talking about your work. Just real quick, would you ever like edit or like do like porn?
Oh, for sure. I'm not against that. I think like they would probably pay a lot, and I'm
Probably.
not against it. Yeah, I mean,
Just
I feel
the
like I could make some really artistic porn. Like,
I'd love
man,
to see
this
it.
thing is.
I'd love to see
this
your
thing is-
re-edits of famous porn movies.
Actually, you know what? That would actually be a great. I was gonna say YouTube series, but you can't pull that off on YouTube. And I feel like
that should be your thing.
copyrighted so
You should
fast.
edit it for YouTube.
It's just
That's so
I even
funny.
redo the whole Foley of it too.
Everything.
So yeah, what do you do for work? Oh, I don't get paid for it, but I re-edit porn for YouTube.
What do I do for work, or how do I spend my time?
Yes.
That's 2 different questions.
Yes.
All right, that's cool. I'm happy for you. Sam, what's up with you in Florida? You're wearing a sleeveless shirt. I'm very jealous.
Yeah, no sleeves allowed in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I'm wearing a shirt is, that's kind of like a formality for you guys.
Thank you.
No, Florida's good. Here for a little bit. A quick check-in for the week. I did get to go to the behind the scenes tour at Universal Halloween Horror Nights.
Very cool.
Which was very, very cool. We went behind the scenes at 6 houses. It was like an all-day tour. It was like 5 hours long with a break for lunch. But yeah, we got to see, like an in-depth look at, the Insidious house, the Ghostbusters house. There's one where just a bunch of goblins come in and eat a bunch of people.
Goblin feast. I was so pumped for that house.
But actually, the coolest one was weirdly the one that we decided to skip when Charles and I and Kaylee and Doug and Emily went, which was the Monsters of Latin America house.
Was that really the best one?
That one was fucking crazy.
Damn. We should have went. Because we could have went right when we were leaving at 2.
Yeah. It was 2:00 in the morning. We were like, no Monsters of Latin America house. But when we did the tour and she told us like the behind the scenes story of like what these monsters are from, you're like, this is the woman that like eats babies. And as you'll notice, there is a lot of dead babies. And then it goes into another room where there's this dude who, I don't know, like he killed his father and then made his mother cook his bones or whatever, and now like has to wear a sack of his father's bones around for all eternity. But he's this dude that's up on stilts. And then the final room is like this giant bird owl woman, but she's a giant animatronic. And they also they filled the room with her scat, and it fucking stinks. It stinks like
damn.
It's insane. That's actually the only house where I got actually like jump scared like several times.
Really? That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know. Sometimes I guess if you're going to one of these haunted house deals, Universal, horror nights or whatever, just I don't know. Don't sleep on those weird sounding houses.
Honestly,
it was the first one in too.
Yep.
It was so that's why we skipped it.
It's funny you say that now that I think about it, because the 2 times I've gone, exactly what you're saying, Sam. The 2 that I was like least had any expectations for, and if I had to skip any based off of like name and theme, I probably would have picked these ones. Were easily my favorite and the best ones. But first time I went was this house about La Llorona, which was incredible. I'll never forget this. They did this outdoor scene of like like a Mexican village, but they had the whole and they had a whole waterway. It was incredible, and they had all these like floating corpses of children in the water. I was like, this is fucking amazing. Like it was so well done. It's like image burned in my head. And the other one, which like totally made me an absolute massive fan of this character or monster, but the last time I went, they had like a house dedicated to like Yetis.
Yeah,
fucking ruled so hard. It was so good. It was freezing in there. And like the snow work was incredible, and the fucking Yeti monsters were massive. It was so good.
Yeah,
but
I think the thing with intellectual property, like the Stranger Things house or something, is like you are confined to the lore that they've given you, and you can't just be like, all right, well in this one we're gonna have the monsters do this, because Netflix is gonna be like, fuck no, you're not.
The hell you are.
But in the Goblin's house or in the Yeti house or whatever, they just be like, I don't know, just go wild.
Yeah.
So future topic, top 5 haunted house themes. All right.
Oh,
God,
man.
I don't want to give away. I have so
like-
many. I don't want to give them away.
That would have been a great one, actually. Shit.
Let's do it next week.
Why not?
Spookfest Part 2.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And also here is Mr. Buff Chick Dip Will. Oh,
Is this feed secure?
probably not. I was got tinfoil on the Mario is great, but the window is what's making me laugh. The whole sheet down the window. For those just
You can never
listening,
be too safe.
You have it on the T-Rex too. Do you have it on the background photo?
My favorite.
No step on
You
snack.
got a no step on snack sign. I'm so jealous.
Yep.
I love
I
that.
got Rick Rude. Rick Rude's protected too up there.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Yeah.
There you go. For those just listening, we're on camera. You can watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/top5ofdeath. And Will did not have his camera on until right now. and he's covered in tinfoil, basically, protecting himself from 5G, as he should, as we should all be. So that's the kind of episode. He is also wearing a top 5 of death shirt, which I'm a big fan of.
Hell yeah.
Those shirt's great.
I don't even have one. That's how
You're
broke
a
I
poser.
was. I was
What size are you? I have a
when-
few left.
I'm a large.
I don't have any of those. I only got mediums.
I can
Nice,
I can
right
fit
here.
into a medium.
All right. Will, what's up with you?
Well, I'm
no,
sorry.
go ahead,
Before I got to call at your attention to detail. You put a tinfoil hat on Mario and then wrote the M back on the tinfoil. and it's that sort of attention to detail that really bring that to the next level. So thank you.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Just got to get on the
the only-
YouTube, guys.
The only thing I feel like you're missing, if I'm nitpicking here, is you should have did little tinfoil hats on the wrestling poster on every guy behind you.
And everyone.
Well, just at least the 3 that I can see, which is Hakeem, the African Beam. I'm assuming that's
Yep.
the Honky Tonk Man,
Yep.
and above it, I don't know who that. I can't. It's a little blurry. I can't make it out. Is that a heart? I don't know.
I don't know which one you're looking at.
The one
But it's
above
across
Akeem.
the top is IRS.
Oh, is that who it? Oh, great. Erwin R. Shyster. Man,
Yeah,
talk about
Bam
government
Bam.
gripes, huh? Right there.
Yeah, I didn't have time to make tiny hats for every single one. It's
Yeah, but you
posters
had
like
time to
10
do
by
everything
7.
else.
I hope you shop at Costco for your tinfoil.
Well, that was another added benefit to this is I got a roll of tinfoil from BJ's, same as Costco.
Yep.
And it's the worst tinfoil ever, but I have like 1,000 yards of it. So I'm like,
okay.
oh, this is a great way to start getting rid of some of this shit because I've had it for like 3 years. It's terrible quality. It rips like tissue paper.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
No good.
that, and I didn't have much to check in on. And the tinfoil is also going to help from my phone picking up the algorithm because I wanted to ask both you guys and the fun butts out there. I'm shopping for a cordless vacuum, and I'd like to hear some recommendations if anybody's got one they like.
So I had I got a real high end Dyson.
Same.
Then
Dyson.
Dyson. But it is Megan. The filter light came on. Megan washed the filter and just put it back in, and then it sucked all the water into itself and killed it.
Ouch.
Yeah,
They'll probably
$800.
replace that.
Oh.
I didn't even know who to call.
Yeah.
I was also so furious. I was like, now we don't have a vacuum.
Yeah.
But that was a long time ago. But that's
Dyson
my recommendation.
Animal V whatever is out. V whatever, the 13, 17, whatever.
And if you're honestly, I've also told this story on the show before. There's a guy who does vacuum comparison videos on YouTube, and they're fucking incredible.
Yeah. I've been watching them.
I watched way too many. I was like, It was like watching like a bracket system of like an Ultimate Fighting Championship to like see this one versus this one because they both won their other battles. And it's like, man, I can't see who fucking sucks up more dirt out of these two. It was really good.
Those video that started off with I saw an ad for like $150 shark one, and I'm like, this would be great, just for dusting the house, once a day. Not full vacuum. You always got to have a corded one for that. But then I get into those videos like you're talking about, Matt, and this guy starts comparing, and then you get to the end of that one, and it's like this one versus 5 other ones, and like you say, you go through the bracket, and by the end of it, I'm contemplating spending $2,500 on a cordless vacuum from like fucking Taiwan.
Hell yeah.
That you could never get parts for if it ever broke.
No.
But look at that cubic foot per fucking yard volume. I mean, it's suctions out of the world.
It's great. It's great.
So if anybody's got any recs, let me know.
There you go. I went to my little thing I wanted so I went to a wedding last night, and I went to a wedding for an old improv friend, and a small wedding. I was very close with this person during improv, and the night before they had like a little screening of their favorite movie as a couple, which is When Harry Met Sally, which I had never seen. So I did see it, which it is excellent, I will say. After I watched it, I was like, I get why it has so much fanfare. It was great. But I put this. These people are they're very much into books, is the way I'll describe them. They're book people. They're poetry people. They're tea people. They're not me people. So, either way, I put this out to my friend because someone did it for me at my wedding, and I was like, that was always a cool thing. So I'll always put that out there because I'm like one of 2 improv people that got invited to this fairly small wedding. And I told her, I go, hey, I just want to put this out there for you. If you need anything, if you need help with anything or anything handled that like for like, you know, familial, political or social political reasons, you can't really ask somebody else to do. I was like, you come to me. I was like, I'm disconnected. I'll do whatever needs to get done. You know, I'll help you out. She was like, that's so nice. Great. Not that I had any expectation for it to come up. It didn't come up at the wedding, but it came way closer than I ever thought it might have. So we were at this table, and it's me, the other improv person, and just it's basically the random table, and everyone's cool. There's this guy at the table, and he had Hunter S. Thompson glasses, and then eventually my wife asked him about them, and he's a big Hunter S. Thompson fan. And his behavior, he just wants to be Hunter S. Thompson. He was like a fucking wild card. It was brutally obnoxious. So this other guy from improv was sitting across from me, and for some reason he was just just saying like being like mean or like just like really rude to this other guy. But we couldn't tell if it was like a bit or not. And he was very loud about it, and he was very over the top about it. And he was with this girl. This girl was like pretty cute. I was like, what is this guy? From my first like take was like, this guy is just like some rich piece of shit punk kid, right? Because there's no way he's pulling this girl. Turns out he wasn't. That girl, they were all friends from college. She was his +1, and she was married.
What?
Yeah. Because like my wife, like eventually as the night was going on, my wife was like, are you with him? Because like, you could do better, you know? And she's like, no. She's like, we're just like old friends. He kind of called me up out of the blue and whatever. She's like, and then she was like, my husband's actually on his way to come pick me up. I was like, all right. But he was being so like not aggressive, but like the things he was saying, I wouldn't let it fly if he was saying it to me. And when so he was saying it to this other guy, another guy like looked at me, and I literally told him, I go, Ben, I'll take this one. Don't even worry about it. I was like, just relax. And the guy eventually was just going like, he was leaning over to this girl who's not his girlfriend and is married, and was like kissing on her arm, and he's like, I want to get the fuck out of here. I can't fucking stand this guy with the beard, like audibly. But in my head, I was like, what is like who is this person? It was like I said, he wanted to be Hunter S. Thompson. I found him on social media. He goes by not by his first name. He goes by his first name of Scout. He's like he does like video essays. He's like his thing's like critic video essays.
Is he hiring?
Yeah, no. But it was like at one point he like was like making this like big spectacle, and he slammed his hands down like really really hard on the table, and he's just like trying to just like be like, I don't know what he was trying to be. I don't know if he was trying to be funny, just trying to make a scene, or just trying to be like a loose cannon for like as a persona. I had no fucking clue. But it was like I stopped eating. I couldn't eat anymore because I was like just like so attentive to like this guy because then Megan started like asking him about his glasses, and I was just like waiting for him to be rude. I was just fucking waiting for like just any opportunity that I can fucking inject myself to be like, fuck you, leave. Opportunity never came. He literally, he's from Baltimore. He came with this girl he's not with, who's married. They barely finished dinner and they left. And I was like, why invite this person? I was like, who the fuck? So once my friend's back from their honeymoon, I gotta be like, what the fuck is with this guy? And I'll figure it out. But It was really, really bizarre. It was like pathetically sad.
Yeah, we got to get the follow up on that once you hear from your friends.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody try to be like that in reality.
Well, one thing that I learned from photographing so many weddings is that a lot of cocaine comes out at weddings. It's wild. Listen, I've never done drugs of any kind, but like I've been offered cocaine at multiple weddings, and I'm like, and I would always be like, nah, I'm working, right?
Yeah, but you could work better.
I could work faster.
But that's why I prefaced the whole story with what type of people were getting married, and this was a friend of the groom, and like, they're not. Like I said, they're fucking tea people. They're like indie art, don't watch TV, like type of people. They're like very, not meek, but like they're very calm. They're not having a fucking rager, right? They don't have like me and so got fucking wasted and flipped a car. Like they're not like that. It was really, really weird to see someone in their circle of some kind and close enough to be invited to the wedding act like that. It was crazy. It was wild, wild, wild stuff. So I was like, I gotta tell the boys.
Let's get
Now, did the couple improvise their vows?
No, they both wrote. They're both like he's like they both went to Emerson, which is like a what was that, like a media school of some, like, how would you describe Emerson College?
Yeah, the one in it's like
Boston.
Boston, right? Yeah, that's a theater media school type thing. Yeah,
and they both wrote their. Go ahead, Will.
I think you can get a degree in stand-up comedy there.
I think so.
Shit, really?
I'm pretty sure you're right. Yeah. And they both wrote their vows. They were very funny. They were both very funny. I don't really know much about the guy, but he's like a big writer, and his is very funny, very well written. So I get it. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it was great. I had a great time.
Yeah, you can get an undergraduate in comedic arts.
That's what it is.
What the fuck are you gonna use that?
Somebody who doesn't know any better.
Walk into
out there.
also
UCB.
true.
Hey,
Yeah.
Emerson was my college's football rival.
Berkeley versus Emerson, and was it like interpretive football?
Division 6.
They sold a T-shirt which was awesome. It said Berkeley College of Music football undefeated since 1968 or whatever, because they've never had a game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's very funny.
Yes.
Well, on that note, what is there, a fucking platypus behind you now, Charles?
I think it's a beaver.
Oh, I hope so.
I don't
just
know
saw
if
the
I'll
tail.
be flagged for this, but hey, whatever. We'll find out.
Who cares?
We already got
all right.
flagged for JoJo Siwa, so whatever.
I know.
I had to remove. I can either digitally remove the audio where like their AI interprets it, but that took them like 3 hours. I was like, I should have just deleted the video and done it myself. And then
You should have just said, no, this is under the fair use statute. Just put the disclaimer on there. Just say anything, whatever is fair use, because we criticize everything. We're not playing anything for gain.
well, that's the thing. YouTube will just block it wherever, really. And like, I don't know what region. It said the region we were locked out of was Russia, and I was like, I don't think we'll have an issue there. I should have just left it how it was, but there wasn't a lot of detail. So, but oh no, we missed 30 seconds of JoJo Siwa music of us just going.
That's terrible.
Okay.
DREAM. You can dream it. You can be it. You can be it. You can
Stop! You're gonna get us flagged.
Oh, that,
You know, you sound exactly like her.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you can say it. You can DREAM.
Booty girl.
I'm a lesbian. Did you know that? My name's JoJo Siwa. I'm coming in hot here. I'm gonna kiss this lady on the mouth. Yeah.
It's hot.
All right, let's get this party started. So we're gonna do top 5 government gripes. So so for my list, I very much tried. Not tried. I did. I kept it very much to like government gripes and less about like politicians in general or things like that. It's a little bit more. I try to keep it more broad speaking in general. Not because I think it organically will probably just eventually get to something somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'd be shocked if we didn't have at least 2 or 3 crossovers across the board, right? So this episode could be pretty short. But yeah, that's how it went. So any thoughts before we get started?
Yeah, do you want to hear my death from winning?
No, I really don't. I wish I came up with a different show idea years ago. I didn't have to do this anymore.
Well, I thought you would have had more of a commanding lead, honestly. By one vote. One vote. That's all. That was the difference maker.
And
you know what it was?
It's important to vote.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everybody just assumed I was going to win, and Matt almost stole it. So
I would have stolen it if I had the machine working for me. All right, but let's.
I do. All right. It was the eve of the 2024 election, and the top 5 of Death Boys were reeling from the viral success of their Government Gripes episode. The podcast had swept the nation, uniting right-wing grumpy Trumpies with virtue-signaling liberals in a way no one ever thought possible. What was once believed the most divisive election of all time now had the people united under one cause that everyone can agree on. This shit sucks. Thus began the massive campaign to write in Conan O'Brien for president. Knowing they had no time to waste, the boys agreed they must stump hard and fast, like a pirate running to booty. Matt canvassed the coastal elite, while Sam spread the word amongst the art communities, while Will visited the blue-collar construction sites to sway the opinions of brainwashed masses into electing someone everyone can rally behind. Charles, confused by the assignment, perched himself atop the remains of a cut-down tree. The moment was closing in, and the margins were slim going into the late evening. Polymarket odds had shifted in favor of Conan, and the top 5 guys gathered to celebrate their successful movement at the local diner. Suddenly, the blouses of the 4 boys were painted in slightly wavering red dots. No sooner did they realize they were targets when CIA members smashed through the diner's windows, tackling the young revolutionaries. "You thought you could get away with this?" the leader of the crew muttered, as he approached the now bound and gagged Sam. "Stop resisting," the shadowy figure yelled. "And where did you get that ball gag? We didn't do that." "I brought it from home," Sam muttered. Matt, writhing on the floor in handcuffs, was able to dislocate both of his shoulders and step over his hands, allowing him to start headbutting all of the CIA members unconscious. When he then closed on the cloaked CIA leader and leapt off a diner stool with the veracity of an enraged baboon, meeting the head of the CIA leader where a collision shattered Matt's skull inexplicably. Matt fell to the ground and perished. "Ha ha ha," the leader croaked, revealing himself to be none other than the final boss, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. "Never try to headbutt a Samoan, you fool." "You think the Samoan dynasty is limited to WWE? You've got it all wrong," The Rock muttered. Just then another figure emerged from behind The Rock. Kamala Harris, from the shadows, headbutted Sam and Charles in succession, along with Will, killing all 3. Kamala raised her index finger high in the air as everyone in the diner then acknowledged her as the original tribal chief. The Samoans then performed the ritual haka, ordered some food to go, and remained in control of the country for centuries more.
Damn.
Very, very nice. I like the image of her with the finger in the air, just slowly.
Of course she's the one, yeah.
Beautiful work.
Excelente.
Well, I can't wait for the end of this episode where you have to take that tinfoil off and we could just see all the wrinkles on your forehead from like the fucking tinfoil.
It's going to get so hot under there.
It's going to be so hot.
I put some ice cubes in it.
Yeah, there you go.
It's full of chocolate.
I was dying last week when the monsters took over. That blackout curtain I was wearing was so fucking hot. I felt like borderline nauseous by the end of the episode. It sucked.
Well, you looked great.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. All right. So, government gripes. Would anyone like to start?
I'll start.
Let me preface this too. So, this person's not going to be surprised by what I'm about to say, but the person who I'm most interested in hearing their list is going to be Sam, because Sam is a very much admittedly a fairly casual person as far as politics, but Sam is a very bright and intelligent person who lives in the country and has to exist within government. So I'm curious to see what gripes, Sam, you have in general. And
I get gripes.
As
I'm
to
sure
Will
you
and I,
do.
we
That's why I'm
don't-
so
we
interested.
don't
I
live in
wonder.
the
I wonder if they're like things that like I don't even think about. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean you have to start. Charles, do you want to start? Do you care?
I do not care. So
All right,
I can
let's
start.
let's get this party started.
I don't have direct shots at politicians, but I will say some of mine are politician based like ideas, which is
right.
my number 5. Senators and congressmen shouldn't make money during a government shutdown.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You guys, there's basically, because it's a 2-party system, they don't want to agree with each other, so we don't pass a budget. So they're just like, oh, okay, we're not going to work. All the other people who are government contractors no longer get paid for that time. They get a little bit of back pay, but then the congressmen, they just keep getting paid because they have no consequences to like, oh yeah, we don't want to agree on this, so we're just not going to. Which other congressmen have put forth like bills to be like, yeah, we'll have it to where we're not going to make any money if the government shuts down. Then of course all of them will go, oh, we're not going to agree on that. Of course they're not.
Yeah.
Like, but you guys are responsible for it, and no, they're just gonna. They have no consequences for a government shutdown. And every time I feel like a budget needs to come up now, it is just like, oh, we're gonna have a shutdown for like a day or two, or we're just gonna delay it for 3 months or whatever they decide to do.
Yeah. And the thing that sucks about like the budget negotiation is it's not a budget negotiation. It's just you know what? All right. I'll explain the budget negotiation process every single time in the terms of a middle school fist fight. It's 2 people opposing, wanting the other person to swing first. And what I mean by that is they want the other person to thumbs up the raising of the debt ceiling first. That's all the budget is. That's all they do. They're not budgeting to save any money. They just want to have the other team be, basically be like, well, we could raise the debt ceiling. So then the other side can be like, we didn't want to do it, but it was the only way we could make it happen. And it's just a facade. It's an absolute facade. And that's basically how that happens every single fucking fiscal year. So it sucks.
Yep.
It's a gripe.
And they lump a bunch of shit in there, a bunch of nonsense laws to go with it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Centipedes are illegal in Nevada now.
Yeah. Like just huge omnibus bills. Oh, man. You know what? I don't know if I'm going to be able to have like a list. I feel like I'm going to like modify my list every time someone speaks. I might, you know what? I'm going to get rid of, God, see, look, I want to like just get rid of my number 5 so I can talk about this thing that's on the top of my head now, but God, this is going to be hell for me. But no, that's a great one. I 100% agree. You know what? Let's take a vote. We should all agree whether or not something is a legitimate gripe or not. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I agree.
Yeah, that's horseshit.
It is.
Get it fixed.
Complete horseshit.
Any other thoughts?
Not really. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Who's going to argue against that? Who's going to be like, no, they should continue to be paid? It's like, well, keep sucking those farts.
There's such heroes amongst the community. They should really just, you know what? I don't mind. I don't mind it.
I remember the first time as a kid hearing that like the government was going to shut down and thinking that we were about to just be tossed into chaos.
Anarchy.
Absolute anarchy. The government is shutting down. Oh my God, everybody, like shelter in place. But nothing happens. I guess that's the whole thing is nothing happens. And then they're like, all right, back to it.
All my government contract friends just hang out, like, yeah, we just have like a weird vacation for like a week. So,
Yeah, we'll just get paid for this next week.
yeah. But all right. Who wants to go next?
I'll
can
go
take it.
next. Oh, okay.
All right.
Oh,
I got it. Damn it. All right. My number 5 is pretty simple. Is the ever-growing wealth gap. This one might have Matt a little fired up when we get into it, but
I just don't understand
Since
what government has to do with it.
Yeah.
it's their policies
We'll get
that are allowing it. So we'll talk about it. Since
All right, go ahead.
1990, the middle class has dropped its share of wealth 37% to 26. That's an 11% drop in the control of wealth by the middle class. I think we can all agree the middle class is the backbone of the country.
Can I ask you a prefacing question right now about this?
Of
Do you
course.
think that there's a difference between the middle class and the working class, or do you lump them together? Because I see them as two different classes.
No. So middle class is specifically not the lower portion and not the upper portion. You chop it up by whatever percentages you want. Say the top 10 wealthiest, the lowest 10% wealthy. Everything in between is middle class. Working class is a different category. I agree with that.
Okay. All right. No, I just want to know what metric to listen to you by. But go ahead.
Sure. So the U.S. economy is kind of designed to, when we achieve all this success, inflation naturally wants to drive down, and the value of the dollar goes up as we improve as a society through technological advances. We've gone through quite the gold rush since 1990, with the coming of the internet, the refining of the internet as we see it today,
Porn availability.
Porn availability, which is one of the biggest drivers behind tech. Charles, you might know about this. Video compression and getting it online. That was all pioneered by porn sites because there was the most amount of money in that sector. Yep. But I just believe that policies over, during this period where our dollar should have been creating more value, it has exponentially been cashed out on instead of benefiting the public. It has been used to redistribute wealth, mostly to the upper class.
Yeah. So I don't disagree with the sentiment overall. I definitely agree that there are government actors that, act on the behest of elites to continue to do such a thing. Not my disconnect, but my wrench in that thought process is my solution suggestion would be less regulation and more free market capitalism, and let the chips fall where they may, and get government actors on the behest of anybody out entirely to have at least an equal playing field, so you can at least argue that the playing field's as fair as possible. I don't like any government hand to tip the scale in any direction, really. I think that's not the role of government to me for this. But the wealth gap, yeah. I mean, the biggest transfer of wealth in human history happened during the lockdowns, and that whole thing was horseshit. So that was a government thing. So to your point, Will, like, what do you sell? Knickknacks? You're closed. You want knickknacks? Go to big conglomerate, Target, Walmart over there. You get your knickknacks there from now on. It's like, but they're my neighbors. It's like, no, health. It's like, okay.
Yeah, and like you said, it's apparent to me anyway that whenever the government does try to tip the scales one way or another, they end up having the adverse effects.
Always.
You try to help the little guy, the big guy finds a way to use that, to squeeze the little guy out, and you just get more consolidation of, wealth and corporation.
It's not even helping the big guy. It's extracting from the middle class to help the little guy. It's all the extraction comes from the center and goes to two different directions. It's either up or down, but the center is where it's coming from. And like you're saying, the center is like the backbone, and it's where the majority of most people, lay. The other, like, to that point, like, the other thing that, like, drives me, that I think is horseshit, is the whole, amount of taxes people pay based on, like, their income, where it's like, oh, like, the top percent pay most of the fucking taxes. It's like, it's not an argument here. And the bottom 50% pays zero. And it's like, well, they can't because of whatever. And it's like, I understand that, but that's also not like an equal system. And like, this whole, every time it comes on, they go, I want someone to pay their fair share. It's like, their fair share? define fair share. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
So that gives me another question to you, Matt. At what point or what percentage of wealth being controlled by, say, the top 1%? As we all know, the little sit in there, the 99%, the 1% or Occupy Wall Street movement. At what point, or is there a point for you, Matt, where so much wealth is controlled by that small minority, where it's seemingly just an upper and lower class now? Is there a range there where you say, okay, something's got to give, we got to redistribute wealth?
In this scenario, is it strictly like this happened under like a completely free market system?
No, in our current system.
In our current system, our current system, I would still lobby to have all regulation removed and then let the chips fall where they may. And my biggest argument for that, and I've made this before, is because then it's like, well, these people are too these things are too big. It's like, yeah, MySpace was too big and it's gone. Like the market will adjust. Like it will adjust itself if eventually. But when you have people that are acting within government to, like you're saying, have their hand in the cookie jar, their finger on the scale in whatever direction, get the fuck out of the scale. Get out of the cookie jar entirely. The chips will fall. Hierarchies are a natural occurrence. People will have more. People will have less. People are stronger. People are weaker. I can't high five or play volleyball. And Charles hits its head on low hanging doors. Like that's just like how life is. And it's like, it's just a natural, you can't fight it until like try to make the argument for equity or whatever. It's like, oh, we could just do this. It's like, no, you can't, government should not have any ability to control for any of this stuff at all. It's not a function of government. It never has been. And I think it creates a lot of division. It unfairly touches the system. So I agree with you as a whole. I guess where I stand is I don't have a problem with a wealth gap so long as no one had there's no like third party having a hand in this wealth gap. If it just happened because person A came up with like this thing and busted their ass and sold it and made $250 billion, and it's like, okay, sure, then that happened. Good for them. I'm happy for them. What can I say there? I don't know.
But I think in that case, then the natural order of things, if there was equality of opportunity rather than an attempted equality of outcome, then I think it would balance itself a lot better if we did have some of this deregulation. But we don't. And I think we're so ingrained in corruption that it's going to be a very long time since a revolution. So that's
legitimate gripe. Aye. Any other thoughts?
I don't understand all of those big words, but yes, they were well said.
All right, we're doing it.
I like money.
I also like money.
Yes,
I don't have any, but
same.
I did.
Real quick, Will, do you think your tinfoil hat is causing the interference with your audio?
I've heard it a couple times.
Is it crunchy or is it static?
Every now and then it's like this. Yeah, it's like.
Let's
don't make them take it off.
No. Let's just blame it on the hat, but just acknowledge that it exists. That's all.
Yes.
It's starting to get hot now. It's gonna come off later.
So yes, Kevin Weaver, we do know we can hear an every now and then. So yes, we are aware. Who's next?
Yeah. I'll go next. Right. So my number 5 is it's a very broad gripe that I have, but I do not like the foreign interventionism policy that just is persistent across the world. I think that is a huge waste of money. I would have less of a problem with if everything that happens around the world that involves the U.S. was happening, but we had the fucking most pristine roads, and all of our internal issues were like accounted for and handled well. I would have way less of I wouldn't like it, but I'd have way less of a problem with the fact that it takes so much of our tax money to do these things. there is a, I mean, so things I'm talking about is like when we just give money everywhere, right? We give money everywhere. There is a reason for it. And you could agree with this reason. I can understand the argument for it. The reason why when people, like, we were talking about bills earlier, and they were like, huge bills, and it'd be like $10 million to like Pakistan for studying whether or not sheep like lollipops or something like that. And then people look at that and go, what is this? Why are we paying for this study on whether sheeps like lollipops in Pakistan? The reason we do those things is so we can flood the global market with the U.S. dollar, so we can maintain like a fiscal hegemony so that people buy other things using the dollar. It's how we maintain the global reserve as the U.S. dollar. So I understand that. I wouldn't care. I mean, I can understand the negative ramifications of what would happen if that was no longer the case. But I wouldn't care about that being the case if we were so well maintained here. I don't think it would matter to us as a citizen of the U.S. that's like, oh, Bangladesh doesn't use the dollar to buy oil from Saudi Arabia. Great. It's like, oh, it's going to devalue the dollar. Other countries live with low valued currencies, and they exist for themselves. I don't know. It's like, you can't make that argument to you. They're like, oh, well, it's like, it costs this much more of this currency to buy a PlayStation 5. It's like, yeah, but like they're getting paid that much more. It's how their system is balanced. It doesn't matter. The market's not going to change. Like, if it costs $1 million X currency to buy a PlayStation 5, then people who would be able to afford it in the U.S. will have $1 million X currency to buy that PlayStation 5 in their country, or else the PlayStation 5 wouldn't sell at all. It's like it's all the same system, but I hate that. I hate being the world police. I hate being those people. I want out of NATO, 100%. I want out of fucking NATO. What a fucking scam that has turned out to be in the end. We don't need to be a part of these things. I also think it's very funny as far as foreign, like when war comes up and like people are like, oh, that's a war crime. To me, there's no such thing as a war crime. It's fucking war. No, you think anyone gives a fuck about committing war crimes during war? You like live in a bubble if you think that anyone actively participating in war has any second thought to commit a war crime during that. It doesn't matter. So to that, I would say we don't need to be a part of NATO. We don't need to be allies with anybody. If there's an atrocity going on that we feel so just about, and like the American people felt just about, then we can walk in there and just go, enough, and end it. We don't need to be a part of these things where we just give all this money to these people on a regular basis. It's like, it doesn't matter. We don't need these like official declarations.
Yeah, we got stuck in this basically since World War II, when we decided not to intervene in World War I, and we had to like step in and go, all right, everybody, stop, just stop doing this. And then we had to do the fucking thing. Well, actually, we didn't have to do that in World War II. Eventually, we had to, and then Japan decided to fuck around and find out. But yeah, ever since World War II, we've been stuck in this like, we got to police everybody. It's like, fuck them at this point.
We do not have to
I understand
be involved in everyone's conflict.
We're the military superpower, yes, but we don't need to keep like swinging our dick everywhere.
No. And
eventually it's going to run out. Like, someone's either going to catch up to us or we're just going to fuck ourselves from it. So
yeah. And to that point, one thing that like I don't really have that much of like I mean, they're going to spend the money anyway. I don't really have too much of an issue of like spending so much money on the military. People are like, oh, we spend so much money on the military. It's like, I would even if we weren't involved in all these things and we still spent that much money on the military just to maintain the fact that like we are so feared and protected that like we don't have to worry about that. I'm happy to pay that dollar. I'm happy to do that. I have kids here. I want to, enjoy life as like having the benefit of living in this country. But I also don't want my money going over and fucking leveling someone else's town for people that I had never, like, to take a phrase from like fucking Goodwill Hunting is like, I crack a code and then some fucking people who I've never had a problem with get fucking bombed, because of that. Like, I I don't want to do that at all. It's like it's silly to play moral sides in these conflicts when it's like each of these sides in this war are just, to them, they're justified, right? Just the way we feel justified in everything we do. To somebody else, we're the villain. It's how arguments are. But yeah, so that's my gripe. Enough. Get the fucking, take that money, fucking $200+ billion to Ukraine for a fucking inevitably losing war. Unbelievable. This fucking, imagine $200 billion to anything here. Anything. You know, like we have these massive hurricanes and they get like some money, but they're not getting $200 billion. I would much rather see these hundreds of billions of dollars going to so many other things that could be so much more beneficial to our country, but we just don't because it's a fucking scam.
200 billion could build about 4,000 schools in the country.
Damn.
Nice ones too.
That's assuming, schools. Recently, this one in Haverhill being built, it cost about $50 million.
Yeah,
which is a lot more than I would have expected. But yeah, and I think, Matt, one place to start with all this, the wasting of money overseas and interventionalism, is how about we go back to forcing Congress to declare war?
Yeah, I was going to say that we haven't officially declared war since World War II.
Correct. And we all know that we've spent plenty of trillions of dollars in conflict since then.
Yeah.
So maybe if you were able to, I don't know, hang your constituents in the square if they refuse to follow, what the public wants. I don't know, but just being able to be like, yeah, we're going to do this. Talk to the guys. But, we think it's a good idea. You guys don't worry about it. Just make sure your taxes are on time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other issue. But like, these people get away with everything. You are 100% correct. There has not been an official declaration of war, because only Congress can declare war because they represent the people. But things like Pearl Harbor happen. I'll do air quotes there. They happen. 9/11 happens. Things happen.
Wait, why did you air quote Pearl Harbor?
Is Pearl Harbor a conspiracy?
Oh yeah, there was a lot. It's the same thing as 9/11, where there was like intelligence before it happened of being like, we're well aware that like there's a good potential viable threat that this exact thing is going to happen. It's the same thing as like how Condoleezza Rice got that, that wire from intelligence agencies saying, foreign terrorist groups plan to fly planes into buildings in the U.S. and then ignored it, and then it happened. And it's the same thing as what else was it? Shit, what the fuck? There was a conflict that was very much like allowed to happen to get us into some other conflict. I'd have to Google it. I wish I knew what it was. But it's very well known. I don't know if it was. I think it might have been the Bay of Pigs, but I think the Bay of Pigs was a different thing, where we just like we basically sent a whole battalion to be slaughtered. But the point I was making is, yeah, every time that this happens, government uses that to secure more power that they never give back. Like the Patriot Act.
Oof.
That was supposed to be a short-term allocation of powers to the office of the presidency. It was only because in response to 9/11. Guess what still exists? The Patriot Act.
Yep.
They voted it every year. It's not going away. And that's the bill that like lets them spy on American citizens and all this other shit under the guise of security. It's just they take an inch everywhere they can get it. Grains of sand make a heap. And then all of a sudden, you live in, just authoritarian, controlled fucking borderline Soviet style fucking, hellhole. But people give it to them because people. I mean, the famous phrase is people who seek security over liberty will like get neither.
Deserve neither.
Yeah, deserve neither. And it's true. Like you can't do that. You gotta, I'm all for liberty, but man, We don't need to be doing this. It's too much money.
I remember in our high school years, the early 2000s when, well, obviously like right after 2001 and 9/11, the Patriot Act coming up. At the time, I was pretty heavily into politics for a young kid. And it made so much sense that everybody was going, this is crazy. This is alarming. They're never going to give these powers up. And everybody was just like, no, it's temporary. It's 20 years later.
It never is. I mean, the TSA, it's a whole new agency that we pay for.
Yeah, but you know how many terrorist attacks they've stopped?
0.
The number is actually 0.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wild.
It's a goof. It's a goofy goof. But yeah, that's
hey,
my gripe. Number 5.
They've confiscated plenty of over 3-ounce liquids, so it's all worth it.
All right. Now my
Sam.
favorite griper. Sam, what's your number 5?
So do we agree on Matt's more or less foreign interventionism?
Is it a gripe?
Is it a gripe?
Yeah.
Well, is it a legitimate gripe? Is it an agreed upon gripe?
I
I think it's a legitimate gripe. Yeah.
Yay.
All right. All right.
Yay.
All right. Man, I can't wait to rope you in. Next one's going to be what? No. Sam, number 5.
I considered going one way with this list. So
Here we go.
that's my honorable mention is do you know that in Los Angeles it's legal for dogs to fuck within 500 yards of a church?
Legal or illegal?
It is illegal.
Oh.
Legitimate gripe?
I was just like, do I do stupid laws? No. My number 5 is a softball though. And it is how long certain things take to become laws. Let me give you an example. I had to deal a lot with a copyright law a few years ago and I learned a bunch about it. And one of the things that you need to do for photography is you need to copyright your photos with the U.S. government. And they make you split them up into 2 different categories, photos that have been published and photos that have been unpublished. So then my big question was, okay, is a photo published if I publish it on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that? So is social media considered publishing? Mm-hmm. And so I called the U.S. Copyright Law Office and I talked to someone and I was like, here's my question. And they're like, yeah, we haven't made a ruling on that because social media is too new. And I was like,
too new?
It's 2021 or whatever, and like Facebook's been around for almost 20 years at this point. And it's just like, no, we haven't come to an agreement on that yet. So I'm like, so what do I do? And they were like, well, I can't tell you that. I'm like, what the fuck? What? This is not helpful. So yeah, I think just the amount of time it takes them to make certain decisions. They seem to really rush some decisions, but other ones just take decades and have to go through all sorts of, bureaucratic steps. And yeah. Then there's me looking like an idiot talking on the phone to the to the copyright office, not knowing what to do.
I wonder, like, what that person's life is like who answered the phone. Like, just in general. Like, what do you do for work? I work at the U.S. Copyright Office. Is that something you've always wanted to do? Or
riveting?
I mean, I could probably find you one. The Patent Trademark Office is literally right down, like 5 minutes from my apartment. Go get them. Yeah, giant building no one works in. So
nice.
Yeah. So my number 5, government be slow.
It do be slow.
That kind of goes to something I wanted to jump on earlier. Is someone's got to just like make a ruling or a bill that only single page 1-item bills from now on for fucking everything. I don't care if you have to vote 200 times a day on 200 different bills. You want to get shit done? Be like, hey, there's an obvious bill that we could all agree on. Let's just, yay, let's get it through. But instead it's, here's an obvious bill we can all agree on. And then also, whether or not, you can, finger a pig on a subway. Like, it's like, well, I like this one. This one's a no-brainer, but now this one's going to fuck everything up. And it's like, well, listen, some people think you should be able to finger a pig on the subway. And it's like, well, I feel like some people might be against that. That's
I'm
like,
not here
well,
to deny that freedom.
right.
Yeah. Also, the bill is 900 pages long.
Yeah, exactly. And 887 of them are different ways of fingering a pig with photos.
And one of them is just an ad for Pepsi.
It's sneaking ads in there.
Well, you got to have knuckle limitations when you're doing that on the subway.
Yeah.
Because it's bumpy.
Yep. But yeah, single issue bills, man. Just I don't get why that's such like a no brainer.
For sure.
But all right, Charles, number 4.
My number 4. I had to think of a better way to phrase this because I always hate the way they phrase it. I would honestly like a better process for acquiring guns, because as a gun owner and own multiple types of guns, I think it's very crazy that I can just walk in, get my buy my guns, walk out. There's no training process. The background checks or whatever, but I feel like what do they even show? Like at this point. But I think, yes, I believe in the right to bear arms, but Jesus, I think we need a little bit better, stricter of a process. Because if I have to learn to drive a fucking car, you should have to learn to operate a gun safely. Instead of just going like, here you go, welcome to Walmart, here's your gun.
Driving's not a right.
Yeah, I was going to say
It's
that's the obvious argument is it's driving is a privilege and not a right. Even though, no, I won't say. I think it should be a right.
But yeah. I also own 2 assault weapons. They're fun guns to shoot, but I think it's ridiculous.
Glitter.
Yeah.
I want some fun
But
guns.
I think it's just ridiculous that I literally walked in and just bought them. Not really much of a waiting period, a little bit of a background check. So, but I think we need a little bit better of a process, especially with yes, there is a black market out there, but especially with the amount of shootings we have going on in the U.S. that we've all just become numb to at this point. I think we need a little bit better of a process. Because yes, there is a black market that can get them on, but yes, you can acquire them legally. And I think we could have a better process with that.
I understand the background checks and this and that. They're trying to stifle the school shooting things. Now, off the top of my head, I can't recall most of those mass shootings and stuff. When the reports come out, it's not like, oh, they got this gun yesterday. It's they stole it from their parents, or it was an illegal gun, or they bought it 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I'm not huge on 2A and all the legalities of it, but my basic stance is, shouldn't it be kind of an innocent until proven guilty thing? If it's your right to bear a gun, then why do you have to subject yourself to proving that I'm not insane?
Yeah. It's a tough issue. Go ahead, Sam.
I agree, because I can walk down the street from my home in New Hampshire and buy a gun, and I have absolutely zero experience with firearms. And also, meanwhile, my dad, who owns a number of handguns, he lives across the border into Massachusetts, and it's a fucking nightmare for him to do anything involving purchasing a gun or crossing state lines with a gun or anything like that. But yeah, I do think it's really weird. I trust very, very few people with a lot of things. So seeing somebody that I don't know if I would trust to babysit my dog, own a firearm, you know what I mean? It's weird. And I do think that there need to be a lot more actual regulations around it.
Mm-hmm. I'll preface everything with that. I'm not a gun guy. I personally don't like guns, but to Will's point, it's a very, shall not be infringed is a pretty clear statement in the Constitution. Yeah, no step on snack. And the whole, I understand the thought process about the catalyst for thinking that way. I think it's a very emotional based thing. I think because logic would dictate, if you gave 100 guns to 100 people, There's nothing that says that any of them will do any harm with that gun.
Mhm.
The potential's there, but the potential to do harm with literally anything is always there for literally anything. It's a tough. So like I said, I own no guns. There were guns in my house when I bought it. I got them out of here. I personally don't like guns. I don't really like to be around guns. But I fail to see guns being the problem as a tool. Also, I think for me personally, I'm much more interested in the rate of school and mass shootings and like pharmaceuticals in that connection of like people being on antipsychotics and like having like it's a causation does not mean correlation, or correlation does not mean causation, but it's very worthy of a discussion, but there's a discussion no one wants to have. Everyone points at the gun. It's an easier thing to do. So my stance is I would be perfectly fine with a constitutional carry in every state. I would have no problem with that myself. I think it's people's rights. I think they should do that. I agree with you, Sam, of like, I don't want people watching my kids, but like as a whole, like I already have to trust them enough to drive the car. I already have to trust them enough to teach my kids at school. I already have to trust them enough to fucking be my doctor, right? It's like, there's an inherent trust that I would, I can be as pessimistic and as, skeptical of everyone around me all the time. But that's not going to do me any good to try to function in the world. So it's like, I have to be benefit of the doubt on a macro level. What I will do is judge my surroundings. I will judge my culture around me, and I will use that as more of like, I don't want to be here with my kids than like, I'll put it this way. I would rather be in gun-toting New Hampshire. Everyone at the diner has a gun. I'd rather be there in like, whatever rural New Hampshire than fucking downtown Lynn, where I live at night. It's just that simple. It's like, the gun's not bothering me. It's just like the whatever. So, but I get it. But that's my stance.
Mhm.
So I also like the way you phrased it. I forget what it was. How did you list it out?
Yeah, I just didn't want to use the word stricter gun laws, but
Yeah,
I'd like a better
Chicago has wicked
process.
strict gun laws, and
I just hate the word strict because I feel like that triggers everyone to go, they're taking our guns from us. Be like, no.
First of all, there's some gruesome shit happening behind you on your screen, Charles.
I know, all the time. There's fucking eagles just ripping entrails out of something.
Yeah, man. We're learning over here.
Charles is like, I would like less violence in the world, and there's a fucking bird just fucking ripping an
What are you talking about? Look at this beautiful swan.
Yeah, and Matt, I do agree with you that it's not the guns themselves, but it is some sort of sickness with our culture. Where it stems from exactly, like, could be the over medication. That's a very viable option. But in other parts of the world, like, like I was in New Zealand when they had their first ever mass shooting, and the whole country was like, "What the fuck is happening?" And we were like, "Oh, we had 12 of those last week." You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
Is it the access to the guns? Is it just the culture that has the access to the guns? And also part of it is, I don't know. I don't think it's right to lean on a document that was written 250 years ago and be like, well, it says it in this paper, so fuck it, I can do whatever.
It's the basis of the country.
I know, and it's insane.
No, I think it's pretty good.
I gotta say, I'm in line with Mr. Larson from Happy Gilmore, that big tall guy who had the golf ball land on his foot.
Guns
Famously
don't kill people.
wore the shirt. Yeah, guns don't kill people. I do.
And you can count on me waiting for you in the parking lot. Mr. Larson, how you doing? Doing pretty good. The nail comes out next week. The one thing I will say, because a lot of people make that argument about like other countries, what other thing about that other country is missing from that equation? because there's a pretty
With a
it's a pretty
gigantic
clean-
population.
yeah, the homogenization of culture and ethnicity amongst these smaller countries. I think diversity of culture in the country will lead to situations that like we have as far as like in the only guise of country comparisons. I think that's like a big variable that I think is often neglected when people try to make the argument of like you know who else doesn't have like gun problems? Japan. They also don't have robbery problems. They also don't have a lot of problems that like lower income places like pockets of America have like in droves, you know? So it's like it just like the comparison of countries I feel like isn't a great argument from my perspective. But I can bet something like that happening in a country where it doesn't happen as often, like, yeah, 100% we're fucking desensitized, which is an awful thing to be about something so serious. But I mean, what can you do?
So what's the solution? We should come up with it on this podcast. Definitively.
For me, I would constitutional carry every state. No gun laws at all.
All right. That's a
That's
different way to go with it.
That's my proposed solution.
The NRA
say
would
everybody-
love that.
Everybody gets a gun at birth,
Yeah.
and you have to carry it.
Yeah, it's you have to carry it.
Mandatory carry,
Man, yeah.
unless you're
Mandatory
disqualified by the background check.
Yes. That's my proposal. That and fucking audit the pharmaceutical companies. 100%.
Well, that's a left turn.
That's a whole different gripe.
It is, but I genuinely, I personally believe that it is a big contributing factor as far as the uptick in these things happening. That and social media. But who's up now? Is it me?
Yeah. Do
Well-
you want to take an agree or disagree on that?
Oh,
Changes-
say it for me one more time. The way you wrote it.
I'd like a better process for acquiring guns. That's really how I phrased it initially.
Well, I think a better process would be just like getting it easier. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
do you mean more or less restrictions than we currently have?
yeah,
I guess more than, yeah.
All right, I say nay.
I'm gonna say nay on that too.
I'm gonna say yay.
Fitty.
I wish Charles said also nay.
Since we're at a
What a
standstill,
time.
do we have to shut down the podcast?
Yeah. None of us get
Yeah,
paid.
we still get paid.
Well, I'll still get paid.
Yeah.
No. That means I got to turn this off. It's fine.
Oh, there you go. I wish your dog was also eating an animal behind you when you turn the camera off.
I mean, that one possibly could be.
There you go.
I also realized we could be flagged. I wonder if we could be flagged for that. So I was like, I wonder if I should just shut this off.
What's the worst that's going to happen? All right, my number 4.
No. That's me.
Is it you?
It's Will's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we gotta. I think we also gotta start putting a time limit on it. We're over an hour.
Yeah.
We haven't.
I think we're going to get some crossover soon. So
Yeah, I figured this. So my number 4 is the voting system. Not necessarily elections, but the voting system.
speak.
Does it need to be this fucking convoluted and complicated and divisive? There should be absolutely no argument here.
Sam left.
Listen, American Idol has been having successful voting for over like 2 decades now. They never have to do a recount. Why isn't this so much easier where you have an app, there's a website, whatever it may be. You sign in with your social security number or your government ID, whatever that may be, which you're required to have. And if you don't have one, well, then you're not supposed to vote. So you can't. And then all these votes are submitted through the app and they are distributed completely to separate independent platforms to all do their own counts and tallies and check for verification and any interference. And that should be it. Tell me the problem there. What's wrong with that approach?
Yeah.
I'm very weary of any digital anything as far as the voting is concerned.
I get that.
The only way I would be more okay with it is if the whole thing was public, open source, and you could have like a public audit of this like basically the pipeline and the code and everything like that of how it's working. I could be convinced of that, but anything else, I'm with you everywhere except for the digital aspect.
It shouldn't be a closed system. You're right. Not a closed ecosystem.
And not provided by some fucking company.
So you want like a Web3 style like ledger.
Oh,
right?
geez, you're getting in is it like cryptocurrency talk there?
That's exactly what that is. It's a secure, open, like public database where you can see all the transactions happen.
Yeah, that's a great point. I probably should have thought of that myself, but I am familiar with that. Where you can track it all the way. You can look at all these factors. So you can have people who are dead. You can compare the voting registry to what you got there, and having that traceability, on the blockchain. Yeah. Why the fuck not?
So the only thing I would think to game that would be writing scripts to vote on other people's behalf to sway elections. Like you could probably do some sort of data set where you could query it in a way where these people with these IDs are so unlikely to vote that you could vote on their behalf and they would never know. Like be like people who have never voted and they're like 50 years old, right? Things like that. So you'd have to account for that.
I actually think I'm onto something with the with the crypto thing.
Well, maybe once Bitcoin takes over currency, there'll be enough confidence in that system.
Because for my crypto wallet or whatever, I have a physical ledger, like it's a physical, it's a USB drive or whatever, and you have to have that and plug it in order to then like answer all your security questions and then go through and do whatever you got to do. I could see that being like fairly viable for voting, except for people are probably too dumb to understand it.
Sam, you mean this USB drive right here?
That's exactly what I mean.
I took it when I was down there.
Anyone doesn't own any?
I have a bunch. I have like a bunch of Dogecoin that's worth like $7.
Ooh, man, I wish I had $7.
Yeah, I don't know what it's worth actually. Crypto's, I don't believe in it. But.
You and what's his face? Oh God, William Buffett. I want to say Jimmy Buffett.
Oh, it's actually worth. Excuse me.
Warren
I have
Buffett.
$63 worth of Dogecoin.
Nice. Good for you. I'm with you. Voting system. It should not be this convoluted. It should not be this divisive. It should be very easy. And again, I say it all the time. If you don't want to make it that easy and that secure, then I'm assuming you're trying to cheat. There's no reason not to. And there is no good argument to not do that.
And not only should voting be easier, more simplified, I think it should happen a lot more often. If we have this, simple process, why can't we vote on shit first of every month? Hey, you guys want to send $2 billion more to Ukraine?
Right.
Yeah. Not
honestly,
this month.
Nah.
I may be talking out of hand, but that's honestly why we started having Congress and Senate, was because at the time, not everybody could vote on this bullshit. So they started having the representatives part. And I thought, like, even years ago when everyone started having phones in their fucking hands, that was my thought of like, why are we still dealing with these stupid idiots? Like, why do who are these people who represent us just based on popularity? Like, I don't understand why we just can't vote as a people. And then, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, because everyone can hack stuff. But yeah, I'd love to vote on actual stuff. So yeah, voting system.
Maybe it's coming
stupid.
with the advent of poly market. You guys, what that's all about?
Yeah.
Nope.
And the companies like Robinhood are doing it, where you can bet on like tokens essentially on who you think's going to win the presidency, and they're
I did see
ratioed by odds.
I did
So
see
each
that,
contract
actually.
costs you $1 or whatever it may be, and then based on the odds, it's presidential election betting.
Mm-hmm. I saw that actually when I opened it.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
So now,
Oh yeah.
investment apps are now turning into DraftKings essentially.
I mean, yeah. The stock market always has been.
Right. Not that it was ever that far off, but
I 100% yay this gripe.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
hooray!
Yeah. Yeah.
Matt, you're number 4.
My number 4, and I've talked about this before. We don't need to go into this on too much great detail, but
Mhm.
I want to see, at bare minimum, a re-audit of all three-letter agencies in the country. I would like for most of them to be completely abolished. I think they are, first and foremost, a huge waste of money. Especially when there's like agency overlap and different things. And two, I think they are basically the fucking unelected permanent deep state government that I think has gotten way out of control. I don't particularly care for them. I don't like them. I think they affect things too much. They've been caught too many times doing nefarious things in no one's arguing that these points, and they just go, yeah. Anyway, what can you do? It's like, well, what you can do is you can get rid of them, or at least audit them, or like I mean, reform. I don't really believe in. I think like abolition is more so, but I'm talking about things like I don't like the FBI, the CIA, less so the CIA, definitely the FBI, Department of Education. I think the EPA can be reformed. I wouldn't want to get rid of the EPA. The FDA, I think, is a fucking joke. That one should be abolished. Abolished and something else take its place in like a completely different fucking form. But these things are huge government agencies that swallow billions of dollars every year. And for what we get out of them is not fucking worth it. And for a lot of time, we have more of a negative. We're worse off for having them exist than we would be if they did what they were supposed to do. I think they're awful for the most part.
Well, look at the ATF is one you didn't mention.
Yep,
Bureau
yeah.
of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Yeah. Is tobacco really a big deal these days? We could at least reduce that to the AF.
I'm surprised they existed even after Waco. You know what I mean? Like after what happened there, and everyone's just like, yeah, just go away for a little bit. But people forget you exist. But these things are insanely corrupt. I don't think they're like front to back they're corrupt. I think there are plenty of decent people who work there with like very respectable intentions that try to do the job. But I think as a whole, they're fucking awful. I think they are, again, I think they are the deep state unelected officials that are really have more control than they ever should have to begin with. So get rid of them. Go. Get out of here.
On the bright side of what you're talking about, did you see earlier this week the communication between Elon Musk and Ron Paul?
Oh, was he talking about the Fed?
Ron Paul?
Elon Musk, yes, Ron Paul. Elon Musk tweeted out.
Isn't Ron Paul dead?
No.
There's a podcast.
I thought. Do you mean Rand Paul?
No, I don't mean Rand Paul, Charles. God damn it.
I'm telling you, Ron Paul has a podcast.
He tweeted back to Elon Musk because Elon said that Ron Paul should head up the board of government efficiency.
Yeah.
And Ron Paul tweeted back, I would love to be a part of that. And take it further, I think he said even.
Take my money.
So
Take my money.
The internet's been a buzz. All the the Ron Paul people from back when we were just getting out of high school. They're like, oh my god, it's happening.
It's happening. Yeah, I mean that would be great. The idea that people are like, we don't need like an efficiency audit. It's like, yes, you fucking do. We all know you do. Even if you like these agencies, like even if you're like pro these agencies, you can't with a straight face be like, no, they're perfect. There's no waste anywhere. And when you're dealing with like the tax dollars, I want every fucking penny accounted for. I don't need another fucking Building 7 fiasco of like trillions of dollars being like, whoops, we don't know where it went. Oh shit, 9/11. Let's never talk about it again. That's awful. And it's like, it's what happens. And I think if you had like a granular, also audit the Fed. if you had a granular, look into these things, I think it would just naturally, I think you'd find out a lot of crazy shit. I think a lot of people would be very angry, and I think it would weed out a lot of fucking corruption and a lot of problems.
How about this? Do you think there should just be one police force from, the beat report to the
So
top
to
of the
me,
line?
I think there should be two. I think there should only be two as far as domestic thing goes. I think it should just be your local police and then the U.S. Marshals, and that's it. Like, I think that the U.S. Marshals can do everything the FBI does. They already have the jurisdiction to do it. There's no reason to have them both. And the U.S. Marshals are a lot more of a reputable institution than the FBI. I think you could put more funding into that, make it, a little bit more broad, maybe pick up some slack there. But the U.S. Marshals and your local police, I think domestically, those should be the FBI was only created to go after gangsters during like Prohibition or whatever. Again, another fucking thing that was only supposed to be temporary, and now look at them. Now look at them. They're fucking massive. It was never supposed to be a permanent agency, not once. But like we've already discussed, anytime anything happens, it just never goes away. Yeah, I think the CAA is awful. I understand the need for it. I get it. But then you also have the NSA, right? It's like the CIA, the NSA.
Yeah.
How many do we need?
Redundancy is there?
Yeah, exactly.
And then
You
to
know
get
what I mean?
anything done, they all have to butt heads and say whose is what, and we got to go through these legal loopholes just to decide who's in charge of the fucking thing.
If you want to watch an awesome, like very good dramatization of how awful these agencies can be, Hulu had a series called The Looming Tower, and it was like a 5-part series, but it was all about the things that led up to 9/11. And basically what the story was about how this FBI refused to work with the CIA and they all refused to work with each other because they were all chasing for like basically credit to like uncover something to justify basically their department's worthiness. The FBI fucking does it all the time. The FBI constantly fucking like part of the process is they recruit some fucking loner autistic kid to get him into some scheme and basically set him up to like be like, no, yeah, you'll go do this. Like they set him up with like a bomb and they have him like push the button and then they arrest him and they fucking take advantage of it. It happens all the time. It happened with fucking Gretchen Whitmer. That whole kidnapping plot. Go look into that for 2 seconds. Go look into the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping plot and fucking, it was like, I don't know the exact numbers, but it was like 12 people were involved and 8 of them were fucking feds. And it's like,
is this the Michigan
yes.
guys?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Go look into it for 2. It's all open in the court. It's all in the court documents. It's like they have to disclose. It's like, oh, it's like you were doing this. Like, well, actually, we're feds. It's like it's what they do. They do it all the fucking time. They convince some fucking low intelligence kid on some like chat room or whatever, and they justify their own existence. They fucking and they go, FBI bust terrorist ring. It's like you created a terrorist ring. The thing that you're talking about is all you, but they do it all the time. It's awful. Abolish them. Get them out of here.
Here.
Question, Sam?
I only knew one woman that worked for the FBI, and she was a real asshole. So I say yes. Let's abolish them all.
Tracks.
Yay.
Yeah. I love it. Sam, are you up?
Yeah.
Let's hit it.
All right.
the gritty.
My number 4. Government gripe is life terms for Supreme Court justices. What the fuck?
I can be swayed on this.
I'll
right.
also, this kind of treads right on my number 3 if you want me to put it out there, because we can just loop this into one.
Let's do it.
Yeah, why don't we have term, like, while this also applies there, we need term and age limits at this point for any position. Doesn't have to be POTUS. Like, we have a limit to become president. Why don't we have one where we just cut off that fucking back end as well? Like, but yes, why? I don't understand why they were like, maybe back in the day, because age limit, like lifetime limits were, when they started the Supreme Court, 60? Whoop. They were probably like 60 years old was their limit. So because they just like croaked over and died, but now they're like people are living till 80. Yeah. What the fuck are we doing with the Supreme Court?
Yeah. Have,
It's the,
have you ever
it's the
tried to
highest seat
speak?
in the land. Yeah.
Ever tried to talk to an old person about anything? It's awful.
I can't
I'm
imagine
currently-
deciding laws.
Had an onion hanging from my belt, which was a style at the time.
It was the style at the time. Give me 5 Bs for a quarter, they'd say.
My car gets 40 rods to the hog's head, and that's how I liked it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that, you know, even the ones that, like, you know, are I think widely loved, like a Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like, she's way too fucking old to be doing that job. What the fuck?
She screwed those Democrats by not stepping down under Obama.
Stepping
She
down.
did.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I'm
if
not
that was
complaining,
if that wasn't a choice that she had, if that was more of a, you know, a law, and be like, well,
Right.
look, that's even if it's not like an age limit, even if it's just a term limit, it's just like, okay, 8 years, 10 years, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Just like, there's nothing saying that you can't be 95 years old and being, you know, controlled like a puppet, like made to talk by someone, like flapping your head around like it's fucking Weekend at Bernie's. We already had a couple Congress people like that.
Oh my God.
now
A president.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that's
you see him biting babies.
Yeah. Just multiple babies.
If he wrote, if he ran on a pro baby biting platform, I might read.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way about you know, president. And at least presidents have a limit. But I mean, that wasn't always the case, because FDR was just starting his fourth term or whatever when he died.
Or fifth? Yeah.
It was his fourth, yeah, and he was like, maybe no more of this.
I
You know, yeah. So it's not to say that can't change. It's just like people just accept, well, this is the way it has been. So
yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree almost at all. I also do find it is strange that the Supreme Court specifically has lifetime terms of all things.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Is it
Ju-
because
just
judges
that.
can just be judges forever? You know what I mean? Like in like a lower court, like is that like the reason? Because like technically they're just judges of the highest court. Is that like the delineation?
I mean, I wish I could tell you.
Anybody.
I mean, I'm gonna guess, because I think, Matt, when you popped out, I was talking about it. The Supreme Court was established in 1789. So like, oh yeah, a lifetime appointment. Well, yeah, people died early, so of course, like, yeah, you could serve a lifetime on there. But yeah, they need to cut it off. That's ridiculous. Like, I get the term limits, because then that throws it into a wild, like, political game every whatever, say, their term limit was. But yeah, an age limit is just, we need that on a lot of different things, a lot of different age limits on this stuff. Because again,
Charles,
we should.
Contrary to your recent statement there, the oldest serving member of the Supreme Court was Oliver Wendell Holmes from 1841 to 1935.
Damn, son.
Wow.
So
What?
they could live there.
Oh
They
yeah.
could live a little long, yeah.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. My brain processed that as that's how long he served. It was like
I'm sorry, that was
he lived to be
his
140 years old.
lifetime. No, but he was 90 years 10 months old when he died.
Damn.
He left the court.
Yeah.
And like,
Listen, my nana is just over 90 years old, and she's a sweet woman, but I do not want her in charge of the government.
yeah.
No, I don't think they should do that.
But yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've got
Yeah.
I've got an alternative approach. How about if we can't get term limits, yearly cognitive testing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That, I'm behind that, but again, it's like the same shit, because like police academies do this, where they run their own fitness tests and shit like that. But their fitness tests are run by their peers. So you could end up with the same bullshit where it's like, yeah, we'll do a cognitive test. It's like, oh, how's Clarence Thomas doing? Let me ask him. Oh, he's doing fine, so he passed the cognitive test. It's like, but you're his best friend. I know. That's just what it's going to be.
Do it in public.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love that. Put that shit on recording and put
The clock test.
Yeah. The test should be, can you hook up a a PlayStation to the TV with an HDMI cable.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, no, I'm behind this one. I'll yay this one.
Yeah.
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 Um,
For both.
all right,
That is my
Charles,
three.
what was
Yeah.
that? Was that your
That,
thing?
my three was we
It
need
makes-
term and age limits. Like we need them both.
Okay, so
I
Will?
think.
Yes. My number 3. Ineffective fines for corporations.
Oh, like when a pharmaceutical company kills people and they get fined it's a $250 billion, but in the end they still made $4 billion.
Well, the reverse of that, but yeah.
I mean-
So they make an exorbitant amount of money by what was the pharma company for OxyContin? It's a prime example. They
Pfizer. I
pretty
don't know.
much. It wasn't Pfizer. I can't recall.
Merck?
It's something with a P though.
Oh, P?
No,
Pfizer.
it's a lesser known. Anyway.
Oh, Pfizer.
Yes, thank you, Sam. I think a lot of people credit, this pharmaceutical pushing OxyContin, deliberately lying, outright lying about its non-addictiveness, which everybody who's been addicted can confirm that's not the case. Even my father, who's been in medical facilities most of his year, was on OxyContin for a while, and when he was taken off of it, he was like, "Thank fucking God, that shit put me out of my mind." And it's like, yeah, it's pretty gnarly shit. And they were bringing it to doctors, sending the hot salesman lady to the offices, which does work, providing kickbacks under the table for doctors, things like that. And just generally trying to sell their product, despite knowing how damaging it was. And then, like Matt said, they make $100 billion on it, and then they get fined $300 million. Great. They're like, cost of doing business. Let's
Right.
move on. What else do we got? I got a new product called fentanyl. It's going to make double that. And it's not like these are bad drugs. They have their place. But they were marketed in a way that was extremely detrimental to the company. And we're in the worst of it right now. It's not even over with, even though we found out all these mispractices. It's just really unfortunate. And I think that the punishments should, weigh with the crimes. Especially for white collar crimes that just don't get prosecuted relative to their impact as blue collar crime would.
Yeah, I'm sure those fines are literally just part of their budget.
Yeah.
Of course.
In court filings and things, they have exactly what you're saying, Sam, is like they have like, notes and documentation of like, knowing their drug is dangerous and what the potential fine could be, and working that into like their business model for how much profit they expect. It's awful. They're the fucking worst.
Yeah, and they can take their case studies on these things and make the data represent to their needs.
They do it all the time.
You can, have it black and white. It's like column A, B, C. That they all, say that there's an issue, and it's like, well, column D says it's a really bad one, and they're like, well, let's ignore D because that blah blah blah.
Right.
They'll just make something up to disqualify pertinent data that will work against them. And on top of this whole gripe of mine of the fines is when they do slam these companies, like what was it, Experion or Equifax, that got nailed for data breach a while back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they weren't exactly operating to make more money. They just got breached. And then they come out with this big settlement. And what did we get out of that? There was big fines. What did you guys get? Anything?
No.
Did you get reimbursed for any of that?
No.
Any of these where all of our most valuable personal information is leaked? What do they come out with? They're like, yeah, okay, we'll pay the government this much money, which was a drop in the bucket. And then they said, we'll give you like 2 years of our credit checking service for free. It's like, well, you've proven you suck. Why would I want your product?
This product
not-
fucking sucks.
Any of these big fines, which should be bigger, should be automatically, put into the IRS fucking system and credited back to you on your next tax return. You shouldn't have to go file a fucking piece of paper and include 18 different pieces of information to get in on a class action suit or whatever it may be, to get a 13-cent check in fucking 8 to 12 months.
100%.
So,
Yep.
it's hogwash.
Yeah. Yep.
It just seems like a lot of glad handing between politicians and
Always.
corporate interests.
I mean, Just look. I mean, between the FDA and these pharmaceutical companies, the higher ups are just walking in and out between the two all the time, all the time. It's despicable, absolutely disgusting, awful people.
Yeah, I'd love to see a company just absolutely crippled and put out of business because of something like this, not just bought up by another,
Right.
entity and absorbed.
And the thing is, going back to like, privatization or like the market, it's like if that happened, they would be crippled and out of business because people wouldn't buy their product anymore. But you don't have a choice because the government has a deal, or they buy it on your behalf, or they do something, and they put it on a fucking like a schedule, and now it's required to go to school. It's all a fucking racket. It's a fucking nightmare fucking racket. It's awful. But
Fine them to hell.
Here.
Could be a big yay for me.
Big ol' yay.
Yeah.
Man, we're griping the shit out of this place. We're gonna fix this country before we're done. Sam, you're up with your number 3. Oh no, I'm up.
That's you. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
This is a broad one. And this is like, so my number 3 is I wrote, my government gripe is that it seems to be more against than for the people. And I'll give you like I'll give you an example. We were just talking about it. Voter ID. Majority of people want voter ID. Like a big majority, like 80% are like, yeah, voter ID makes sense. Why isn't it a thing? If it was a government for the people, right? If it was a government for and of and by the people, again, to Charles, your point of like voting more often, like if we had the voting more often system in place and we could be like, hey, this question's come up. What say you, people? Then do it. But they don't. And that happens a lot with like a lot of different things where like most people would be like, yeah, there's like a pretty like general consensus amongst like the public on this topic, but somehow never makes it to where it needs to go. Charles, it looks like you want to say something.
Well,
No, actually, I have nothing to say.
I got some.
Yeah.
All right.
And I hate to burst your bubble, Matt, but I do have the answer to this.
Okay.
I saw on CNN recently that the reason for this is because black people don't know how to get to the DMV. They don't know where it is, and they don't have cell phones.
Yeah.
This was a legitimate, I think you've seen it and talked about it
Yeah.
before. This was a legitimate news story. And then I've seen another video come out where a guy goes and interviews people on the street. And he's like, do you have an ID? And they're like, fucking, yeah, of course I do. It's like, you have a phone? Yeah. You have a car? Of course. You know where the DMV is? Yeah, of course. And it's like, so that's actually an excuse that people use against voter ID is like, oh, the minorities can't get the proper documents.
It's the soft bigotry of low expectations is the phrase for that, and it only exists amongst suburban liberal people who think, people of color are just like, what they're saying, even though they don't think they're saying it, is that these people are beneath them and they're stupid. I don't think they mean it to be mean. I think they think they're being kind, but they're not.
Yeah.
And also, one more thing before you go, Charles. On top of that, the fucking the current governor of New York, Hochul, is on camera saying, she says, some black people don't even know what a computer is. She said that. She fucking said that. She's the governor. Just a white liberal fucking woman who's just a friggin' lunatic. And her thing was like, some black people don't even know what a computer is. I'm gonna see if I can. But Charles, while you're going, I'm gonna see if I can find it.
She believes it.
It's to like further cement that like painting of someone they are. It's from my experience, it's a lot of people who didn't go to school with anyone of an ethnic background or from lower poverty or anything like that. I went to public school. It was a gigantic range for this area at the time in the 2000s. There was a lot of upper middle class. There was a lot of lower class in our area. So it was that mixing of groups. And yeah, it's anyone who does want to say that like, oh, they don't have access to this and this. It's because they're probably also the people who are usually scared to just say someone's a black person. They're just scared to say that because they never interacted. So they're scared to like what's going to happen to them. And also, yes, they are also usually appealing to like that small little percentage of people who make the most noise on either side.
Yeah.
So they're scared to say anything about it.
Yeah. Let me
But
play
yeah,
you.
to
Let me
say
play you this from
they don't know what a
from Governor
computer
Kathy
is.
Hochul. Here to-
Uh-huh.
It's about like a little bit of like a minute or whatever.
A lot of other people said, I wish my governor had thought of that first. I said, no, this is New York. We like to be first, with all due respect to people from other states. It's sort of our attitude. You know, we will be the best. We will be the first. And I want others to follow, because right now we have, you know, young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is.
There you go. Young black kids
What?
growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word
Hey,
computer
The
is.
word.
where's the governor's mansion? Is it even in New York City?
I think she lives on her own private island somewhere in the Galapagos Islands.
So she's from Buffalo, New York, but no, growing up in the Bronx, New York City might as well be its own separate state. Also, if you've ever been to the state of New York, but also fuck the state of New York, I hate that place.
Yeah. So talk about, you know, not being for the people. You think that?
My
You're
God,
so detached that you think that? Like you like, and she does. Like, it's incredible to me. It's absolutely incredible to me. And it's just, it was never supposed to be this way. You know what I mean? It's like the fact that like we got here, and it's all to everyone listening. It's always the smallest step. Always, you go, whatever, it's not a big deal. Whatever, it's not a big deal. They want to do this now. I don't really like it, but like I don't see that being like a big deal until they all become a big deal. Like you can't vote away your fucking freedoms. You do it all the time. You don't even know it, and it's people really got to start paying more attention to this type of shit. But yeah, that's my number 3. Is just I feel like government is you know, more against. Also, another fucking example. Kamala Harris is running as president. No one fucking asked for her to do that. There should have been a fucking primary. That's like an embarrassment. If I was a Democrat, I'd be fucking furious. Furious. As soon as
someone
Biden
who
sits down, they should have fucking had a primary.
as someone who was looking for a different candidate, I agree.
Yeah, it should have never happened. Do you know why they had to make her that? Is because by law, the only way to get all of the money from people that donated to Biden's campaign was to shift it to her because she was already on the ticket. That is the reason why they had to go with Kamala Harris. They didn't want to. She was never gonna be like the pick. She just happened to be right place, right time with this whole thing, and now she's, you know, running for president. And it's like, that's not how the government's supposed to work. Again, against the people, not for the people.
I think they really dropped the ball again against an easily beatable Donald Trump.
I don't think he's
They
easily
put Hillary
beatable.
in the first time. Well, okay, so the first time against Hillary, virtually anybody else
Yes.
who was fucking sane would
Yeah,
have beat
I
him in
think he was the
2016,
most beatable.
and he
in
wouldn't be
2016.
around now.
Yeah, he was most
And
beatable in
again-
2016 because he was just Donald Trump at that point. You know, he had nothing to stand on. Then he had 4, I will argue, net positive years, and everyone went, oh, re-election 2020, he got 13 million more votes than he did in 2016. The more of an increase than any other president in history from one term to another. Lost. I'm going to give a big old wink and a nod to that. And now we're in the situation that we're in now. But I think the DNC is the worst as far as like being just like a corrupt entity.
They're like that meme of the kid on the bike, and he puts the stick in the spokes and
Yes.
goes, "God damn it, Donald Trump!"
They fucked you out of Bernie Sanders twice.
Yep.
And Bernie Sanders is such a little fucking bitch. He was just like, "Thank you. May I have another?" And it's awful. They don't care. They don't care about their people at all, because all they need to do is dangle out the fucking government handout, dangle out all the buzzwords that make people emotionally feel better, and their voter base will vote for them. That's it. That's all they have to do. They do it all the time. Republicans are awful. Thankfully, that party is basically dead now and is more of a populist party. I think I would love to see a similar takeover of the Democrat Party that has happened to the Republican Party, with a populist movement of, you know, more liberal, for the lack of a better for the sanctity of my own mind, like reasonable policies. But I think that's what needs to happen on the DNC. I think the country will be better for it if both parties were more populist based.
Yeah.
But yeah, bad government, bad.
Voter ID, yay or nay?
Yay.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Sam?
Yeah, Sam.
It's funny. That's that your voter ID is like a bill that comes with all the other stuff that you said to it that I had to yay or nay. That's okay. But that's a good segue into my number 2, which is
Number 3.
no, number 3. Oh, okay. All right. Well, number 3 then is a more softball one. Number 3, U.S. Postal Office. What the fuck are we doing there?
I thought they were going to be gone.
Yeah. And honestly, like listen, my dad was a letter carrier for 28 years or something insane like that, and it's a tough working class job, but like I don't need someone to deliver me trash every day. That's all I get in the mail. It's either trash or something that could have been sent electronically. That's it.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I'll get a package which could also have been delivered by any of the other package carrying services. And I understand that there's like, it's our right as Americans to be able to send each other mail, but like, how about it's the right of as Americans to send each other emails? Like how much would we save if we eliminated the postal service entirely?
I can answer that question.
Yeah, because then we can reinvest it into wars.
Well, in 2023, the total net loss of the U.S. Postal Service was $6.5 billion.
Yeah, which actually doesn't seem like as much as I would have expected, but
let's see. Oh, hold on. Let's see if I got more of a chart over the years. Okay, since oh my God, this is way. Oh my God, they have data from 2001. 2001 has been. Oh no, all right. There's some surpluses in here. There are some surpluses in here. Let's just go back. What are we at 20? All right, let's go back. So they have it up to 2021. So let's go back a couple years. In 2021, $9.7 billion loss. 2020, $9.2 billion loss. 2019, $8.8 billion loss. 2019, $3.9 billion loss. So the last, it's in the billions of loss every year. The last surplus was in 2006. How much of a surplus do you think it was? So I will remind you again that every loss is in the billions. In 2012, it had a $15.9 billion loss.
Yeah. Surplus, $327.
I'll put it this way: in the realm of these numbers we're talking, it is exactly right. A $900 million surplus in 2006, and that was the last surplus year for the U.S. Postal Service.
Yeah. A prime example of a government agency controlling something to specifically be bad and inefficient. I remember when I was a kid, my dad would, go out for work early in the morning. Then he'd come back around noon and he'd take a nap for like 2 hours. And then he'd go and finish out like his route or whatever, because he was efficient at his job and he could deliver all the mail in way less time than they needed him for.
That's awesome.
So what they did instead was they, instead of allowing for that sort of efficiency to happen, and also, my dad's naps that he was technically going to get him paid for.
Hey, your dad owes me some money.
What they did is they redid his route and they had somebody walk him the way that they wanted him to walk on the route to specifically make it longer. And then they added check-in like codes that you had to scan at specific times at specific mailboxes. So like you had no matter, it is fucking wild. So then there was no more breaks. His route took him way longer to do because he was forced to walk in a way that made absolutely no sense, just because that's how his superiors wanted him to do it.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Shame on them.
And so that's the way the whole post office is run, to the best of my understanding. It's there in the numbers. And again, like literally every day I walk down to the mailbox and I will retrieve my trash.
Trash is here.
Trash is out.
Trash, yeah. That's brand new trash, yeah.
Yeah. So,
I
maybe
don't
we
want
can cut
anything in
down
the
on.
mail unless it's a catalog around Christmas. That's it. And I only want it so I can give it to my kids. They can circle things like I used to do, which I will say big props to Amazon and all those online companies. Great move. Excellent move.
Yeah.
Do they send a catalog now?
Yeah, with just toys.
Yep. Just
No,
toys.
there you go.
It's
That's cool.
fucking awesome.
Smart. Very good.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, Charles, number.
I agree with this.
I
Yeah,
agree. 100%.
My number two words, legalize it. That's it. We all know what it is.
Prostitutes.
All of it.
All of it. No, I don't. A lot of this is purely from my state being motivated because it is a state function, but it's also a federal government.
That's what,
We just need to fucking-
Charles is toking up as we speak.
Yes, we need. We gotta pull out a big one. We need to legalize weed. I don't know what the fuck we're waiting on at this point. We're leaving. Legalize it. Tax the shit out of it like we do with everything else. We're leaving money just sitting on the table. This is a lot of motivated from my state because, especially in this area, DC and Maryland both are legal weed. And then Governor Youngkin came along and we were set for this year for recreational weed to become legalized. So people started building dispensaries in the area near the border of Maryland and DC. So once it was legal at the beginning of 2024, it was going to open. All these businesses would open, everything. And the minute he took over, he was like, no, I decided, since he's for Virginia, I decided we're not going to legalize it and we're going to keep it just medicinal. But I want to make sure Virginia makes money. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? If we just legalized it throughout the US, we'd be perfectly fine. All the other states, I can't believe it's 2024 and we still have like these old skeletons believing that, oh, it's a gateway drug to other things. It's like, just fucking legalize it and let the country make money. What are we waiting on? It's ridiculous.
So
It's such an old hat thing that we're stuck with.
I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't really care. I don't think it's like I mean,
don't even smoke
alcohol's
it.
way worse than weed is. Demonstrably so. So it's like whatever. Alex Berenson was a writer for New York Times. He's got a book that like is against it that I think probably makes the best arguments for it. I don't really recite any, but I've heard him on a couple podcasts about it. Not that I agree with him, but I was like, well, these are fairly decent arguments at least. But yeah, I don't care. I mean, I hate it. It annoys the shit out of me, but so does fucking most things. So
I could be completely wrong, about everything I say in this episode, but anyway, I'm on the opinion of legalize everything. I know weed is obviously the first step, I would say. In Massachusetts, we're having a vote on psychedelics this year.
Yeah.
So magic mushrooms.
Isn't that just for medicinal purposes? Isn't that like to like release it as like more of like a prescribed thing?
Which is exactly how weed gets legalized in most states. It comes in these steps. But I was listening to something recently about the contamination of harder drugs, which I don't participate in myself, but those who do have a much harder time these days of finding uncontaminated product. So you're hearing about people dying who maybe just, they do a little cocaine at the wedding Sam's at. And,
Maybe Sam does it.
But they got it, a bad batch from, a dealer maybe they don't normally use, and it's got too much fentanyl in it, cut with some kind of fucking toxin, and they're one and done. A guy who's done, recreational cocaine a handful of times in their 30 years, all of a sudden, one bad dose and you're on the floor. I had a coworker that this happened to. He was a cocaine user, and we kind of knew that here and there. And then all of a sudden, one weekend, we get the call. He didn't, he got a bad batch and fucking dropped him dead. And it's tragic. And what I heard was that a big part of this is because of an embargo on chemicals with China. Whereas if you go to Europe where they don't have these, they're getting that product shipped in. So the drugs are being made with better better chemicals to start with. And because we don't have access to that, in order to keep the drugs affordable for consumers, they're getting cut with this other bullshit, which is causing obviously mass casualties across the country in every major city. And they also made a point to say, when you think of major cities, you think liberal cities. Most of the big, metropolises are typically Democrat. But the drug problem is a huge problem in every major city, regardless of their political base.
Yeah. The only caveat that I would have to like the legalize everything is I would like to be like, cool, legalize, do whatever, no public use at all, bar none.
Oh yeah,
Sure,
Just simple.
that's already a rule.
depends.
Depends.
Yeah,
It does suck. I will agree. I'll agree with this. As someone who smokes pot, since it's
What?
become legal in mass, since it's become legal, it's fucking annoying that everywhere you go these days, you're fucking smelling pot,
Yeah, I hate it. I fucking
especially in
hate
the
it.
cities.
I have such like a
People just casually walk down the street. Police don't do shit about it.
yeah, I hate it. I smell it outside my house and I go fucking ballistic. But
I don't mind.
like
I don't mind catching a whiff, but if you're standing behind me in line, I'm not a fan.
yeah,
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's a good one. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Legalize it.
All right,
for
Will.
All right, where are we? Number 2.
Mhm.
My number 2 is this is kind of stupid now that I'm looking at it.
More balloons.
Too many unenforced laws. Too many laws and them not being enforced.
Baking a pie on a Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, like like
Monster.
you can't let a pie cool in a window on a Sunday or something like that.
Right. And more than just the blue laws, which are kind of funny to look up in your local precinct if you've got some free time. Sodomy, believe it or not, just became legal in Massachusetts like 10 years ago.
Thank God.
So anyway, there's so many laws. Just looking at from traffic laws to just common law in the city, it's absolutely impossible to understand and follow the entirety of them. Using traffic laws as examples, we have all these speed limits in place. You know how hard it is to get pulled over, driving around in Massachusetts? You have to be going over 85 miles an hour, it seems. So why do we have all these, regulations that are just not enforced uniformly? It's kind of just like we're looking for a reason to pull this car over. The guy looks like he's dark skinned.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. That's one thing I really kind of like. I understand, like you can't. It's like a matter of like, can you or can't you, right? I don't like the idea of a cop just being like enforcing laws arbitrarily. It's just like, it's like to me, if you were an officer of the law to uphold the law, then if you witness any law being broken, then I would think that you would enforce it. But they don't. Right. And that's a good and a bad thing, because it's like the guy doesn't want to stop everyone he sees jaywalking. But I don't know. I agree. It's like it's
frustrating because it makes the good guy fucking fall behind because he's willing to follow all the rules and everybody else just skirts them, and they might catch one out of every 100 in the rush skipping through the turnstile, so to speak.
Yeah.
While the good guy's waiting in the back of the line with his fucking subway token. He never gets through.
I would like to get on the
another example of this. If we are really serious about enforcing drunk driving, why don't you just pull over everybody who leaves a bar after fucking midnight?
Yeah.
What's the percentage you're going to catch people over the 0.8 limit, right?
Mm-hmm.
More than half. Easy. So I don't know. It's just to work in this gray area. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, it sucks.
Because you are leaving interpretation of the law up to the individual as well.
Yeah.
If there's a gray area, yeah.
Typically not good people.
No.
Yeah, there can be a certain type of person that seeks out that career for the wrong reasons.
100%.
Yeah.
It's no secret. Everybody knows the guy in high school who's going to grow up to be a cop.
I know several of them.
And he's usually the first one to get a DUI.
They gave me two options: either community service or I could become a cop. Yeah, I used to be a much more pro police before. I am still ultimately pro police, but way less so since the pandemic. Fucking just, just people like shutting down fucking people's businesses in their community over things that weren't, over governor edict of just declaring things. It's like not how the fucking system works. It's not how it works at all.
Just following orders.
Exactly. And it's like, fuck you guys, man. You guys are just, you're as bad as fucking people make you out to be. You just fucking ding dongs. But horseshit. It's horseshit.
Yeah, we need more cooks.
Give me a cook.
Less laws.
I'd like to be arrested by a cook.
Too many laws?
That's a good one. Am I up?
You. Yeah.
All right, so this is like this is a popular one for me, but I really dislike it, especially all that we know now. But my number 2 is government involvement in media. Man, what a nightmare scenario this is.
Can you give me an example, just so I have a better idea?
Media?
Yeah.
Not C-SPAN, right?
C-SPAN's great. I want more C-SPAN.
They have the best call-ins.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes, you know what? Later today, I'm gonna find a YouTube compilation. An example of sure. Let's go with recently, right? The last election, the Hunter Biden laptop story. However you feel about the Hunter Biden laptop story, it is confirmed by everyone, including the Zuck himself, that government agencies reached out to them and, swayed, whether outright demanding, swaying, anything like that. I do not think that they should have any involvement or contact at all with media or news agencies or anything like that. It's the freedom of the press is a thing. I think it's a good thing. But when you find out that, Twitter had backdoor portals for these agencies to, get this action, when you have all these emails from government to people, with the release of the Twitter files and, then all the Facebook stuff and people just being like more comfortable now. I mean, like the letter that Mark Zuckerberg wrote to the Biden administration is insane. Does anyone read that?
No, I've not read it.
He basically wrote a letter that was like, to sum it all up, he was like, not you, but like government, FBI had me do a lot of things I didn't really want to do. And I'm telling you now that we're not doing it again. And he was basically just being like, we're staying out of it, was his ultimate thing. But that shouldn't be a thing to begin with. Like, it should have never happened. Government should not rely on third-party entities to suppress speech or anything like that. And it's awful. Project Mockingbird is a real thing. We can see the compilations of all local news stations citing the same stuff over and over again. Obama signed a thing that allowed the American people to be propagandized. It's clear as fucking day that happens. We are a propaganda. Like when people say things that are just like incredibly incorrect, it's like, why do you think that? Like it's because it's so commonplace. I'll give you another example of like media control and things like that and how they work with government agencies. So there's a Bill Maher clip. It's famous, but he cites this He cites a study about people asked about COVID. The question was, what percent of people who contract COVID need to be hospitalized? And there was such a stark difference in people's answers based on their political leanings. And independents and conservatives were much closer with like 5 and 6%. People who identified as Democrat and liberal believed over 50% of people who contract COVID needed to be hospitalized. That's the fault of media. And that is the fault of, that whole thing was the whole working with the CDC and all the corruption of wanting people to take the jab or whatever. But the point is that's like, that's how propaganda works. You control the mass. And they did it before. It was way easy, and they had 4 channels. And they had 4 channels to worry about. You could get that message out pretty good. Now it's a lot harder. But the fact that, like, Missouri sued the Biden administration and went to the Supreme Court. Basically, they were suing them to be like, listen, you can't talk to these agencies anymore. Or, like, the government does not have a right to talk to these agencies. And I think they ultimately lost the case where they ruled in favor that, like, government can contact these agencies, which I think is, too bad. But I don't like it. I don't like when I see it. I don't like that it is a propagandistic arm of the government. I very much view it that way. You can't tell me otherwise when it's like, when something comes out that is like a hoax or fake, and it's everywhere, and it's so aggressively everywhere. It's like, how is this? It's like, I don't buy it. I think it's just government doing government shit, and I hate it. I hate it. And then when things get proven to be false, you don't see the same correction. No one does it. It doesn't happen ever. I mean, even on the most recent presidential debate, Kamala Harris busting out the very fine people hoax that everyone knows is not true. But she said it because people still think it's true because they don't know any better. And that's what they rely on. And it's like, that's fucking terrifying. But I don't like it. I would like to have like a clear and direct statement or bill or something that says no government agency. I mean, we already do. It's called the Constitution, but I think we need another one that kind of like really like outlines it to be modern or whatever. And I want them out. I don't want any government ties to any media in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Agreed.
That was pretty shocking. I think it was during the Obama administration. It was revealed that there was like hundreds and hundreds of meetings with Google at the White House.
Yes.
During his term.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a lot. That's almost daily.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have the power to sway elections. They did it. They do it all the time.
Yeah, because they're handing over personal data.
Yeah, it's all it is. I mean, we do it to other. There's it's actually really funny. On like I think the Daily Show or whatever. There's some like U.S. official, and like I think they asked him kind of jokingly, like, "Oh, like we wouldn't affect other people's elections, right?" And the guy was like, "Well, actually, we do it all the time." And I don't think they were prepared for that answer. And he's like, "Yeah, we've done it here, and we've done it this way, and like, yeah, we always do it for good reason." And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, get them out. Let me lie. You have the right to lie, which is terrible, but it's true. But yeah. All right. So number ones.
No, Sam's 2.
Oh, Sam's 2. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm so
Never
sorry.
No,
blast
it's
through
good.
our ones.
No, we don't spend a lot of time on it. And my number 2, speaking of lies, is religion. It shouldn't be part of the government or politics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. You're not gonna
Reseparate church and state.
Yes.
I don't get it.
It is wild that it gets lumped together with, the right mostly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, well, because I'm a Republican, now I start to be very religious. I've seen it happen in that way as well as the other way where they start religious and become like very right-leaning. But I've also seen people like just go down the path of, oh, I'm going to start going to church now because my politics say that I should, which is very weird.
Or they base who
You
they're
can be
voting for.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, something that's associated with the right, but I don't think it should be associated with any political party. It shouldn't have anything to do with laws or the way that we're governed, or the logic behind reasoning for certain things, because it's not real.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely where I like detach myself from a lot of like podcasts I listen to, or like clips that I watch, or people that like the readings that I write, is like, when they like, as soon as they mention the like Christianity or whatever, I'm like, whatever, get to the logical argument, please. I don't care about this. Like I understand religion as far as like basing a moral framework from writings. Like I'm on board. I get it. If morality, I'm with you. But when your argument is based off of the wants of a deity of some kind, I go, nope.
Yeah.
Even if I agree with you, I go, I agree with you. I don't want that to happen either. But the reason that you're saying you don't want it to happen, I think, is bogus.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I've seen it like you see it everywhere. But I was at the barber recently, and there was another guy that was cutting someone's hair, and they were talking about the barber was like, oh yeah, like my daughter just came out as gay, so I had to kick her out of the house.
I had to.
I had to kick her out of the house because that's what my religion just says, like that's not okay. And the guy in the chair was just like, do you have other daughters? And he was like, nope, it's my only daughter. And it's like, how's your relationship with her? And it's like, it was really good right up until that moment. It's like, oh, dude, you can't logic a reasoning out of someone who's very religious. So if someone is very religious and now they're in charge of your laws, that becomes a big problem, because you can't speak logic to someone who is so set in their ways. Because also if you're thinking that you're going to convince that person that like, no, you're right and what you believe is wrong, that's never going to happen, because that means they would have to admit that their entire life and all of their beliefs up until that point have been wrong.
Yeah.
Well,
and then
that's what happens when you selectively interpret your book.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's how we got
Or
here.
the people teaching that person that book selectively interpret it.
Yes.
But like to the point, that's why, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I am glad Trump happened, is because that shit is so way less of a thing in, for lack of a better term, like the right, because it's like people don't give a shit about that anymore. For the most part, you don't see these people that, like, when we were growing up, right? I think we can all remember growing up and seeing like Republicans having like a very strong anti-gay stance, and now there's gay Republican congresspeople. Like it's like it's not that
Well,
party
they're just
anymore.
out of the closet now.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we don't have to bang this kid in
It's socially acceptable.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. That's like it's like, and those gay people that are usually on the conservative side are just like, even if they're like, yeah, you can go practice your religion, no one's gonna bother you, and you hate my guts and whatever, like it's fine. Like, and that's the way kind of that, in my opinion, that whole situation should be handled. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't understand. Man, nothing drives me more nuts than like anywhere in my circle where I see like someone that's like, they don't say the Pledge of Allegiance. They should put prayer back in school. It's like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, you
can put prayer back in school as long as it's your specific religion that they choose to use.
Yeah.
I mean, that's happening in Oklahoma. So,
and is anyone surprised that's happening in Oklahoma?
No, but they're putting the Bible back in there. So, teaching the Bible in public school.
I learned about religions in school.
No, it's like a thing, thing. Like, yes, you can learn religions in school, but they're like teaching the Bible.
It's in the curriculum.
Yes.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is going to be one of those things that the Supreme Court initially either strikes down or they
do that.
Yeah, but we'll see. We will see. States' rights versus regular rights, but yeah, or whatever.
So, Sam, do you think that they should be taxed as well?
Oh, fuck yes.
Oh, churches.
Churches.
Oh my
Yeah. When
God.
I was setting up my nonprofit, I had to answer a bunch of questions about like if I was going to be a church or not.
You're going to be?
And I was just like, oh yeah,
Maybe.
I forgot they don't have to pay taxes on anything.
It's worth a thought.
I know. I was just like, wait a minute, should I? The feast of maximum occupancy. Yeah, I do think they should be.
A couple of years.
Go on.
So back when before it was called Obamacare, we had Romney Care here in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was a poor, early 20-year-old who couldn't afford health care. I was working, on the road 6 months a year at nuclear power plants, and I'd come home and just be an unemployed bum with a good bankroll. And then come tax time, they wanted to fine me for not having health insurance, despite I'm as healthy as I've ever been. This is a great time to not have it.
Mm-hmm.
But they did allow a loophole at the time of claiming religious exemption.
Yep.
Which I did do for many years, so I never had to pay that fine.
Good for you, Will. Damn man.
Yeah.
And I think that is fine. And I absolve you of your sins.
Wow.
Please say 20 Hail Marys.
Maybe you are a church. I agree.
Yeah.
Yay.
Number one.
Number
Number
one.
ones.
Let's blast through this. My number one. We briefly talked about my previous number one, but I'll just throw in a new one here. The two-party system needs to go.
That's my number one as well.
We need to start giving the other. I don't even want to call them third parties. I want to call them the other parties a chance.
I think it's
I
funny.
know they require a percentage, but just if you give them a fucking platform, we could at least have a fair fight here.
I think it's funny that you think that there's a two-party. It's a one-party system. It's the uniparty. They're all the same. It doesn't matter.
True, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
in the way that
even if that means
no, go ahead.
go for.
No, you
I was
go.
gonna say,
Sure.
even if it means we end up like the UK where they have like what Dark Helmet or whatever his name is, even if we end up having these like silly ass people up there, fine. Like it's so we have like options up there at this point.
Yeah, I mean it's like I've said this before on the other show for that sentiment and everything like that. It's happening with Trump and that whole camp. Trump, RFK,
Yeah,
Gabbard,
it's true.
Elon Musk. Like you have to. It's less about to get like another party prominence ain't gonna happen. You gotta just take over one of them. You gotta just take it over, and then maybe one splinters off from that, right? But I think initially you need to take one over, have it gain popularity under that umbrella, and then with that popularity be like, we're now going to be this party and just take all that with you. Because it's crazy what they do to maintain that two-party system. Like even most recently with RFK running, the things that they would do to keep him off the ballot or being able to like suing his campaign. It's like, what are you doing? Like, shouldn't you
First to
like,
kick him off and then to keep him on.
Yes. Yeah. It's crazy corrupt. It's awful. The only reason they didn't do it to Trump is because he just beat the fuck out of everybody in the primary in 2016. That's the only way that he's like got through that. He just ran through all the mini bosses, and now he's up against the final boss, which is the Uniparty, and he's like trying his best. And he had to hit continue because he got fucked once. So he hit continue. Now he's picking up where he left off, but he's only got one life left, and that's it.
That should be part of his slogan. Donald Trump, just trying his best. But no, I mean,
I like that better than Make America Great Again. I like
for
just
sure.
trying my best.
Just trying my
Every
best.
time he stands his close, arms up and drops them. That's the gift.
Am I trying my worst? No. No, but Charles, to your point, because this is my number one as well. Like a two-party system by design is divisive. and that sucks because like you're literally like you're seeing a nation torn apart where like literally people are having their relationships with, you know, parents, friends, like ruined, you know, based on their political beliefs, which sucks. I don't let that stuff get in the way of, you know, friendships or anything like that. Or like my dad hat, like he wears his MAGA hat, you know, and everything. And it's and is it slightly embarrassing? Sure, but like we don't talk about it, you know, because it's not gonna. It's too divisive. There are too many.
Have him call me. I'll talk to him.
There are too many beliefs that are lumped together on one side and too many beliefs that are lumped together on the other side. And it's just like, if you're on one side, you believe all of these things.
Right.
And if you're on this other side, you believe all of these things. And that's crazy.
There's no
That's a
room for
crazy way to
nuance.
think. Yeah, absolutely. But if we were like in a country where it was the norm to have 6 parties, you know what I mean? And they all had a chance. I know I'm talking like a fairy tale right now, but like it's not the case in other countries. Again, like in Iceland, I was there during their election, like on the day of their election. And there were, I think, 7 parties or 7 candidates on the ballot. And we asked one of the locals we were working with, who were like, oh, like, did you vote today? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, wow. Like, so who on this card like really has a shot at winning? And she's like, well, they all do. Just like looked at me like I was insane. Not like those 1 or 2 people that were definitely going to win, and then everyone else was on there for a formality. It's like, no, they all have a shot at winning.
Yeah.
And I understand that country is very different than our country. And it's not like an apples to apples sort of comparison, but like, I don't see why we can't get to a place where we do have 3 or 4 parties that have nuanced beliefs and won't just straight tear the country right down the middle.
Yeah, the argument against it is like the same argument people make about voter fraud, where they go, well, you know, there's never been any proven voter fraud. It's like, you don't even look. You can't say there hasn't if you haven't looked. And with that, I mean, because the argument is like, well, then only like 25%, like 26% of the country like gets represented. It's like, you only think that because there's only 2 parties now, so you can't make that argument when the only comparison is 2 parties. It's like, maybe it wouldn't be 25%. Maybe 50% vote for one of the 4 candidates. And you're like, oh, I see.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, is there potential that 26 of the country wins a vote? Yeah. But there's also potential that 80% of the country all vote for that one person because they had more options and this one aligned with more people. So I'm open to it.
I think you're touching close on something that interests me a lot is ranked choice voting, which is kind of the first step in trying to.
Yeah, I'm with Charles.
It's a
I
step.
actually don't
It's a
like
step
that.
there.
I know.
Yeah.
But I've been very interested. I should probably look back into it because Maine actually adopted this a couple years ago, I believe. And I haven't gone back to see if it's changing anything at all. But it was an interesting premise to me. In order to, you know, like you were saying, Matt, one could get 80%, you know, but maybe the favorite ends up with 10% because when you come down to ranking who you like,
Yeah.
it's well,
Yes.
yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to play with.
I want to put all my eggs in one basket. Just give me.
Oh,
give me
I
both
hadn't even
baskets.
I haven't even considered that as being an option for voting. So they're doing that in Maine now, where you can literally say like, "Here's my number 1 choice. Here's my number 2 choice, etc."
Yep, you can pick, you know, fucking Gary Johnson and then Trump and then Kamala.
I don't
Yeah.
want to pick
That's a hilarious breakdown.
either of the other 2. Yeah. Okay. No, those
Yeah.
are good.
2 parties. Yeah.
Will number 1.
Number 1. My number 1 is less taxation, more representation.
That's basically my number 1. I just wrote taxes in big letters. Taxes. Please go on.
So mine's more about the representation part of it. When back in 1790, we had 34,400 citizens per representative. Anyone get an idea of how many citizens per rep we have today?
Oh my God. Oh,
No.
the country's falling apart.
They're here.
They caught him.
It's all over.
I don't know. I'd say 10 million.
Oh,
Is that too?
2.8 million.
One person will. Price is writing this bitch.
it's 761,000 people per representative.
Winner, right here. My Price is Right rules.
Which to me seems just outlandish.
Yeah.
You know, if you're talking about representation, I know you can write letters, you can make phone calls, but if this was put at the ratio as it was, you know, long ago, then maybe you would know the guy. He would live like 3 houses down from you. You could talk to him. Hey, are you voting on this? I'm like, fucking why? Okay, good point. You know, it'll bring that, you know, down to a more local level, which I think is helpful, because they capped the Congress, the seats in Congress, and it fluctuated a little bit for various reasons. But in 1929, they capped it at 435, and we have a hell of a lot more people. You know, 350 million people in the country right now, I think.
Yeah.
And why can't we have more representation at a local level? You know, what's stopping it? Just because we'd have to build a new Congress building?
So it's funny that the big theory about the immigration issue is it's padding Democrat cities for more representation, because the census determines how many Congress people are allocated to Congress based on your location, and the census does not account for citizenship. So that's the running theory, that based off of immigration numbers, I think there's some validity to it, at least. So it's funny that already exists, but it hasn't caught up to what you're saying, where it's like one person can't represent 700,000 people.
Right.
Yeah.
And not be in touch with that
Yeah.
each and every constituent the way that I think he should be.
Also, there is something to be said with that, is like, whenever you look at the elections of these people, out of like 700,000 people, I bet 10,000 people vote in that election, you know? So it's like, these people don't care enough to even bother. So as much as I think that your idea is a good idea, I don't think like people give a fuck.
Well, I think bringing that community, you know, aspect, you know, more local, like I was saying, I think would help that.
Yeah.
You know, and you can be like fucking Ben down the block isn't fucking, you know, at the local barbecue with your other neighbors. You can say he sucks. You know what, John, you should fucking be the guy. And it only takes a few thousand people to decide that. Okay, get this fucking guy out of here.
Yeah.
I think you'd get a better talent pool or moral pool of people into politics, because every politician starts at the bottom, the local level, and works their way up.
Yeah, I mean,
mostly anyway.
Just thinking about it now from like an engineering standpoint, I don't know why. Maybe it does, and I'm just like a real dum-dum. But why can't it be, if you have 700,000 people, right? You break that up, and then you have these tiers of representatives that are closer to smaller groups of people, and then votes just cascade up. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's a topic. Person A is voting, like, there's 700,000 people, and let's say there's 70 representatives that each represent 10,000 people. So those 70 people vote to represent their 10,000 people. And then that vote gets passed off to the one person who represents all 700,000 people. And then that person now participates in, you know, now they represent the state or whatever in another, you know, another vote. And it's like, cool, out of my 70, we voted this way, so I'm here to represent that vote. You know what I mean? Like, what? I don't know. I guess, honestly, I understand why. That's a pure democracy, and that's not what we live in, so I understand.
Yeah, and I tried to calculate this out. I could have fucked it up, but I think if we were to adjust that ratio for today's population, it would be more like 6,000 representatives in the country versus 435.
That's a lot.
And that's not touching up in the senator count too.
Right. Yeah. And for me, I
Maybe
don't
we
know.
need less representation.
Then vote for Trump.
Vote him.
Fascist.
Yeah. Favorite word.
Fucking Hitler.
Yeah. And he did have that MSG rally.
Yeah, I got to give Trump credit. So I go on YouTube, almost daily, and he is live from somewhere at all times every day.
Always. Always.
It's
He
pretty
did
impressive.
Rogan. 3 hours.
He did Rogan. I listened to about half of the JD Vance Rogan while I was mowing the lawn yesterday.
Yeah.
And when I finally turned it off, I was going, that just sounded like a great conversation, which is what Joe Rogan's great at. It's why he's the number one podcast in the world. And I just remember thinking, like, JD Vance is a fucking regular guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. At least he can pretend to be pretty well, which is
I've come
it's
around
hard to
more-
find these days.
I've come around more on JD Vance recently than when he initially got picked. One thing, so before I listened to the Trump Rogan, like when it dropped, I went to Twitter to see what people were saying about it, and my favorite thing was it was a quote from it, and it just said, "I want to be a whale psychologist," and I was like, I can't wait to listen to this fucking episode.
That's great.
Yeah, it was good. What the fuck was I gonna say? Shit. Yeah, tax is bad. Let's just get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cut it out.
Cut it out. You want to talk about ranked choice? Let me rank choice where my tax dollars go. I'll fucking fill out that whole form.
I've said that ever since I started paying taxes. I'm like, why the fuck am I paying them this way?
Yeah. If
I
you're
wanted
gonna make me pay this, can I at least fucking have a say in what it's funding? Because I can tell you what
it's going to NASA.
A lot of
It's
shit.
going to NASA the whole time. It's going to NASA. I don't care. It's going to space, motherfuckers.
Gotta keep
That's where
up
my
with
money's
lines.
going. Yeah.
I'll tell my shitty fun taxes
Earth
story.
tax.
Okay.
So there was a relatively new law, where, all right, not to get too into the weeds, we had a copyright, an image copyright lawsuit. Can't give out any details or anything, but basically we were owed, let's say, $100, and then our lawyer was to get 40 of those dollars. The way that it was before was that, say our image, we would have licensed it for $10. We would pay taxes on $10, and the rest of it would be considered damages, and that's tax-free. Now the entire amount is taxable, and not only that, but the 40% that we paid to the lawyer pays taxes on, and we get to pay taxes on that. So it gets double taxed, which is straight trash. So we pay tax on the 100%, lawyer pays taxes on the 40%, where not too many years ago, we would have paid taxes on 10%.
Yep.
Yep. So that is garbage. So taxes, bad.
Taxes are very bad.
Alright.
Get rid of the income tax. Trump's floating the idea around, but
He has been.
it's again, it's nothing, no promises, no nothing, but to have a candidate be like, I think we should get rid of. I mean, he's already committed to no taxes on overtime, which I think is awesome. No taxes on tips.
That's a great one.
I just don't get how you don't.
The
vote
tips
for that.
one I'm not 100% about.
Get rid of the tipping economy in general.
Yeah.
Charles already does it.
That's another ballot question in Mass,
It is.
or at least an impact to it.
Yeah, but yeah, because like the big lie is like Trump wants to add $4,000 to your taxes. It's like no, he wants to get rid of the income tax and just have a $4,000 flat tax as a tariff or whatever. And I was like, I went and looked at my old W-2. I was like, how much do I pay tax? How much did I pay in taxes last year? And I saw it, and I was like, man, if I only had to pay $4,000 in taxes, I'd have so much fucking more money.
Yeah. That would, if that was a thing that like you could guarantee, that might be the only thing that would sway my vote, because we pay as independent, business owners, like we pay stupid taxes. It's just dumb money that comes out every year.
Well, I'll put it to you this way, Sam. The two things that you care about, the abortion issue and the taxation issue, have equal chances to have any effect from the president. So take your pick.
I believe I'll vote for a third party.
Go ahead.
Jill,
Throw your vote away. Yeah, no. Hey, this was good. This was way less contentious than I thought. Honestly, I didn't think it'd be very contentious. I didn't think I was going to come in here and be like, the government does a good job. They do the best. I like the government.
if you walk around kissing the feet of the government, there's something wrong with you. You should always criticize your government, no matter what presidency or anything. You should just be on top of that shit.
But one of my favorite slogans that I like to drop on people's, when I'm arguing with people on social media is this is giving me some govern me harder daddy energy. People do like it. It's incredible. But it happens. People are out there. They don't think so. But they are. Do we have fun butt lists on this, or is
We actually do. We have a couple.
okay? Let's get.
I'm gonna run right through these. First up, we have Mitch Mint, Fresh as the Fun Butts. Number 5, the two-party system. 4, the government having anything to do with marriage whatsoever.
Oh yeah, I totally
3,
agree with that as well.
3, no term limits for geriatric out-of-touch politicians. 2, unfair treatment of men when it comes to family law. Dads are important too. Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
the case study I think needs to be done on that at least.
Number 1, the inability to hang violators of the Constitution for treason, preventing government corruption from having real consequences.
I think Will said that earlier.
How about the CIA supplying ISIS with weapons? That was legitimate treason.
Under Obama, right? Fast and Furious.
Great movie franchise. Next up, we have Dad. Number 5, time after time of unnecessary spending. 4, Beetlejuice. 3, open borders. 2, taxes in general. And number 1, woke politicians and policies.
I think that's going away. So I think that was more of a cultural issue, and I think we're
fading.
walking out of that.
Don Spaguli, number 5, taking bribes from and prioritizing the interests of corporations over the people. I feel like it doesn't matter which party you're voting for, all of them are doing that. Number 4, politicizing politicking. Sorry, prioritizing politicking over actually passing laws and budgets. It was the prioritizing and then the word after that my brain was like, what word am I looking at?
P's
here?
are hard.
3, the one party system.
Yep.
2, continually violating the American people's constitutional rights by surveilling us under the guise of national security.
Patriot Act.
And number 1, all of the kid diddling.
That's pretty good.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Next up, we have K-Funk. Number 5, term limits. No more lifer politicians. Jesus Christ, yeah. 4, salaries. There should be no or minimum pay. If you want to be in government, it should not be a profit to yourself. That's why they should probably freeze politicians from investing or... Number 3, the two-party system. All parties should be equally recognized and provided the same opportunities. 2, accountability. We hear about scandals almost daily, but no one ever goes down for this stuff. It gets reported and forgotten. And number 1, the government should be a referee while citizens play the game of life. Government should not be an active player in that game in any way. Next up, we have the man himself, Dingus Cunnilingus Adams. Number 5, super PACs. If you're going to bend the rules, at least openly take donations from the charitable Jehovah. You don't want to witness this group. 4, not enough porn star politicians. That's true.
There aren't enough.
I want to see more of them.
Are there any?
There must be
Larry
one or
Flint?
two.
Wasn't Larry Flint in the politics?
Oh, the hustler.
Yeah. Just waiting on Riley Reid to show up. Voting for office.
Mental
But,
capacity to be in politics. I think she's going through some stuff.
Number 3, the old ass shitbags on both sides that keep listening to the anti-Pornhub groups. We know your crusty hands can't jerk yourself off anymore, you cuckfuckers. Don't ruin it for the rest of us. It's Virginia, you can't get on Pornhub.
That's wild.
You have to verify your age. So you're giving porn websites access to your more of your data, so your government identity to verify your age. 2, the Supreme Court accepting not a bribe money to block my advocacy group pushing for all the sausage ends to be crafted to look like penis tips, except my sausage shaped sausage. It's Clarence Thomas.
That's a good one.
I wasn't prepared to read a sentence like that. Number 1, bring back duels. If I'm into this actually. If 2 politicians are in opposition, they can just load pistols and have a duel. This will simultaneously help fix the lifetime politician positions, as we'll have to rotate out the ones that die, and as some of them get too old, they have a higher risk of losing a duel, so it will encourage retirement.
Nice.
Yo, I'm into that.
That's good stuff.
Next up, we have mathematics. Number 5, they took our jobs. 4, there you go. Number 4 is actually took our jobs.
there you go.
3, mysteriously making billions of dollars a year with a $40,000 salary.
Crazy.
2, the DMV. And number 1, the lady that tells you to get to the back of the line because you forgot to put the date on one of your 50 pages you just filled out to get yourself off the registered sex offender list because you had to pee in the bushes next to a park.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yep. Next, we have Wonderlump. Number 5, no term limits for most offices. 4, the acceptance that any third parties can be bullied out of existence. Most other democracies have multiple parties. 3, gifts and super PAC donations being perfectly fine and not at all a bribe. 2, the fact Congress can vote to give themselves a raise.
Yeah.
Maybe let the citizens vote to see if you deserve a raise. And number 1, no limitations on how long the election period lasts. They should be forced to sit and wait and then cram it all in 3 months. I hate listening to all the garbage for 10 to 12 months.
No, I thought you meant like the voting day. It should be one day.
And lastly, we have Ryan Brown. Number 5, the electoral college.
oh, get
4,
the fuck out of here, Ryan Brown, you idiot.
4, propositions that throw more money at unimplemented plans happens too often in California. Departments are created with no oversight and money is wasted. Then a preposition pops up that proposes a department that already exists but does nothing needs funding. 3, partisan bullshit. I really need more water. That's my current issue right now.
There's so many P's.
I have no water right now, so my mouth is so dry. 2, the 20,000 duplicate departments that work on the same thing and never communicate with each other. And number 1, writers, stop hiding shit in bills. Unrelated shit should go in its own bill and sit up there on Capitol Hill. Yeah, and that's the fun butt lists.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, this might be our longest episode for a while.
I
that's a
think
good
so.
one.
Now listen, most importantly, make sure to get out there and vote. And
Hell yeah.
vote for a candidate of your choosing.
I'm gonna edit the
Yes.
shit out of this.
Don't fall into the 2-party system where you feel like you have to vote for one or the other. If you don't have a candidate that represents you, you don't have to vote for that president.
But you should
So-
vote for Trump if you want anything to get better.
No.
And be sure to join us. Be sure to join us next week on top 5 draft of gnarliest foods to eat for bad farts.
Dude, that's a good episode.
You know what? That's
You
a
know
good.
what? That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
We'll call
Tune
it
in.
top 5 fart crafting draft. Fart crafting.
To be followed by our shortest episode.
Beans. Well,
Follow us on everything. Top 5 of Death everywhere.
Yeah, follow us on everything. Top 5 of Death on everything. Top5ofdeath.com. Join the Discord where I will argue with you about the election and the shenanigans that I'm sure are about to ensue. So let's all buckle in and let's see how this fucking plays out, because it ain't gonna be, oh, the vote happened Tuesday. Oh, here are the results. Nope. There's gonna be a lot of fucking craziness going on. So keep your thinking caps on. Be careful not to be propagandized. If you hear anything, go look it up yourself before you determine it. And with that, smell you later.